decided to listen to the Reality Czars podcast. How brave of you. Nate and Paranoid American may think that they're merely discussing cryptozoology, interdimensional realities, and crude humor. But know this, listening to this podcast puts you on a certain list, the Clinton body count, if you will. The truths they reveal are not for the faint of heart, nor the blissfully ignorant. Listen if you dare, but remember, some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And now, your hosts, those audacious explorers of forbidden knowledge, the Reality Czars, Nate and Paranoid American.
And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is the Reality Czars podcast, and I'm your only host tonight, Nate, unless Thomas wakes up. I think he's asleep, and that's all good. Tonight we have Joe Reezy on from the Cave. Is that like
K4V3?
Yeah,
it's like the Matrix, you know. The numbers and the alphabets are starting to mesh in.
So is the Cave? Is that just like the man cave? Is that like just you and your homies? Is that what
it's like the man cave? It's also like Plato's cave, you know, and it's also like, you know, we wanted to make like a portal for an online community. Someone said bridge, and I was like, man cave, Plato's cave. Let's just fucking call it a cave, you know? And
Fuck yeah, dude. No, I dig it.
Started with cave.
So this is your first time on the show. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and where they can find you and all that fun shit?
All right, man. So my name is Joe Reezy. It's a nickname. My actual name is Jarrell. And I want to put that out before Superman starts popping again, because it came from Superman's dad, Jarrell. So I want to kind of own that hashtag before it starts popping off with DC and all that. But I'm from a collective called Cave. That's K4V3. You know, we're just a group of guys that grew up in high school together and talk about a bunch of crazy shit. So we wanted to start a community. Started blogging, started a Discord, and we're like, you know, let's just start a podcast. So we started a podcast too, and now we're here, you know, and I'm kind of the rabbit hole guy. I take it to the conspiracy theory, the supernatural stuff. The other guys talk about sports, you know, comic book, pop culture stuff. So it's a weird balance, you know. I get my time to shine sometimes, and then they get their time to shine sometimes. So it's nice to be here and talk about crazy shit and not be looked at all weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, buddy. Now this is the place to come and talk some crazy shit. That's what we do best here. I mean, before we even got started, dude, we were talking about like tranny surgeries. We were talking about the shape of the earth. We were talking about all kinds of wild shit. Maybe we should have recorded that stuff, but like
for real.
So I don't even know where to get started. I don't know what you want to talk about first. We want to get back to those fucking cummy hair holes that close up on their own, or if you want to fucking
so yeah, you talked about like the fucking hair pockets, and I mean, like, let's leave it at that. You know, if you want to talk more about that, hit up Nate, hit me up on Twitter, and we'll talk more about that. But I think that's not talked about right now, and I think there's a heavy push on the transition of gender, you know, surgically. And there's obviously a monetary incentive in that, because nowadays a lot of doctors go into cosmetic surgery than they do practice in medicine, because it's more lucrative. So obviously they'd be trying to push, like you said, a procedure which isn't really, you know, perfected yet. So there's going to be reconstructive surgeries along that. And you know what I mean? You're going to have constant visits to the hospital, and we're going to try to figure it out there. But that's not.
I mean, that's a whole conspiracy with like Rockefeller medicine in general, is that they don't ever want to perfect it anyways. They don't ever want to have like full healing anyways. They want you as a constant customer. And so like, it seems to me that they are exploiting a small demographic of people that are very depressed and obviously have some mental stability issues. And they are manipulating them into thinking that this is going to make them happy. And so just don't worry about it. The government's going to pay for it anyways, which just means that we get robbed for it, right? So it's a guaranteed paycheck for them. And then they're doing this procedure that they know is not going to make them fucking happy. So like, they're going to have some pills to give them. They're going to have some fucking psychiatry kind of appointments to give them. And then they know that whatever they're doing to them is unnatural and real fucked up. And so there's going to be a slew of problems. So they're going to have to come in for constant infections, constant strew of fucking antibiotics, constant, like, I got to clean that thing up. I got to go in there with little fucking things and cut out the little cummy hair holes that, like, we made in your wound. And then we can shove the dildo back in there. You know, it's wild, buddy. And the problem is, like, I don't care what adults do to their body. You can do that if you want. But my God, bro, I don't think that's going to make you happier.
Yeah, like you said, it's like they want to keep you in a hamster wheel, you know. They don't really want you to get, you know, what's dangling in front of the treadmill, but they want to keep you going. And it's, I mean, you guys talk about anything. So it's like Black Lives Matter, you know what I mean? There's a population of people that they exploit because of a strong, you know, trigger of emotion, or that's usually rooted in trauma, right? And not saying that the transgender community don't, you know, sometimes aren't rooted in trauma, but there's a lot of groomers too, you know what I mean? Shout out to Gays Against Groomers, because they really exploit and shed to light that, you know, there are gay people and there are people that are just kind of grooming people, you know what I mean? So
yeah, there's a huge fucking
crazy
group
stuff.
of fucking yeah, man, yeah, 100%, dude. Like,
I want to say though, bro, since we're talking about crazy shit and we're on this topic before we segue something else, I'm Filipino, and I don't know if you are familiar with any Filipinos in your circle or your community or in your audience, but it is tradition for Filipinos, especially Filipino men, I hope only Filipino men, to wait until they're like 11 to 12 before they get circumcised. You know what I mean? On some like Jewish shit. It's like a rite of passage, you know what I mean? But even people would say that's kind of barbaric, you know what I mean? And like some kind
well,
of
yeah, dude,
mutilation
I'm
type
not. I
shit.
mean, I'm fucking circumcised because my mom was a fucking moron, like a Christian Zionist that, like, has to, like, suck up to the fucking Jews in the world and thinks, like, nowhere the Bible even says
It's so weird, bro.
Christians don't need to get circumcised anymore. So why are we doing? It's only American Christians, dude. Do you know that? Christians from any other place in the entire fucking world, they don't get circumcised. So, like, yeah, no, my youngest is not. My first one is because I was like, well, that's just what you do,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Right. It's instilled. Bro, though.
Yeah, my youngest, dude, my youngest has not a single fucking jab. He's not fucking cut. He's like a sovereign little fucking human being. And he's healthy as shit, dude. He doesn't get sick.
Mm.
All these kids have fucking, like, ear infections, runny noses, all fucked up at the doctor all the time, like RSV, no fucking pokes, healthy 24 hours a day.
Wow. You should document that, man. That's scientific data that will be hidden. You know what I mean?
There's a doctor out here in Oregon, bro. And that's what he started doing. So he was just like a family practitioner. He was a pediatrician, and he was a normal dude. He was like a normie. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He had no fucking, he was not a conspiracy theorist at all to begin with. And there's a big community. Let's see here. We got a comment here. As I work for the Filipinos. Awesome.
Hey, mabuhay, baby.
But, like, so there's like a big community of like crunchy hippies out here, right? That weren't going to get their kids poked. And he just, like, he worked in this family practice for like 20 plus years and watched the kids that were poked and the kids that weren't poked. The kids that were poked were getting sick constantly, dude. Constantly getting sick, constantly having to come in, constantly taking like baby Tylenol and all this bullshit. And the kids that weren't ever fucking in there. They weren't fucking sick. They didn't have any fucking problems. Like, they would come in for their like checkups and they're like, oh, your kid's growing. They're like, oh, they're not autistic. They're on track. Their verbal skills are great. They're cocking, you know, everything was fucking fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then vice versa, the kids with the fucking jabs, like, yeah, this will get you kicked off Facebook. Sorry, buddy.
We'll see. They're
all, I mean, it's just wild, man. Like the whole autism.
Where are you at right now? Are you in Florida?
Thomas is in Florida. I'm up here near Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like,
because that's also something that's not talked about, bro. Because if you go through your pediatrician and you refuse a vaccine, sometimes you get blacklisted from coming in, you know what I mean, to their medical network. You can't go to Dodge. And you're you're noted as negligent to your child. So if they push it to the extreme, they could take your children away from you. You know what I mean? So
I mean, that's gonna be a push, dude. They're definitely gonna try to do that, dude.
Just saying.
But there's a lot of fucking pushback with all this shit. And honestly, dude, I think people have kind of woken up a little bit. And like I know that's a big thing. Like for people, like there's a lot of folks that are like on board. We're like, hey, maybe this mRNA kind of fucking brand new technology, maybe this particular one isn't good for you. But I'm telling you, dude, all of them aren't good for you, dude.
Yeah,
that's a
I
hard
agree.
hurdle. I see it, dude. I see it. It's a hard.
The thing about mRNA, all the vaccine stuff. Me, I'm a carnivore. You know what I mean? And I only eat meat. I'm scared because if you refuse the jab, which there's a new version of the COVID vaccine right now. That might get me off Facebook. There's a new version of it right now, and it's not mandatory. You know what I mean? Which is a good thing. So I feel like my fear is when they start putting it in the food. You know what I mean? When they start when they start. So how is it like the woke people, the people that are trying woke people, or the people that are awake and they're trying to push back on that? How are you pushing back on that when you're eating it? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
dude, what's fucked is that all you can do is the best. All you can do is your best, personally, best. Because
so
like
just fast.
I mean, dude, it's fucked, dude. Because like there's a literal actual quote from Bill Gates where he says, if the best way to combat vaccine hesitancy is to put it in the fucking food. Like that,
and he's buying up farmland, bro.
He's buying up farmland, dude. So like with this new mRNA bullshit, they can literally like what they do right now with tomatoes. They can take a gene out of a fish, like a deep underwater fish, and put it into a tomato so they can grow like hothouse tomatoes at like 50-degree weather. Right? So like they're already splicing and dicing and doing all this shit. They're literally going to put this shit in the fucking RNA or mRNA of the fucking tomatoes that you eat. And you're just going to fucking eat it and you're not going to know. And what's worse, what like really scares people is they've made exceptions for organic meat that they're allowed to have mRNA vaccines. That's already done. Like they've already passed that. And then what's even worse for like folks that want to go hunting and fishing and like catch their own shit, they are already putting mRNA vaccines because they said that deer are a fucking something that are going to pass COVID.
Yeah.
They fucking started vaccinating with self-distributing vaccines.
Hell yeah.
So that means that they fucking shot up like I think it was like 100,000 fucking deers and like elks and shit with the COVID vaccine. So even people that think they're hunting and getting some clean meat to bring home to their family, they're getting spike protein still.
Shit.
Yeah, buddy.
So bro, like, so
at the end of the day, like, I'm not trying to black pill anybody. You just have to take care of yourself.
It's a whole nother pill.
Yeah, dude. You just have to take care of yourself and do the best you can, and try to source your food from like local areas that you know, like the farmer, or like this dude that has fucking chickens, this dude that has fucking beef, you know, some cows down the way. Do what you can, man, because I'm fucking poor. I can't afford not to, like, I shop at fucking Kroger and buy shit at Kroger all the time. So
they're also regulating growing your own food, right? So there's really not much you can do. And if there are any carnivores out there that are listening, you guys know when you're off that diet, we don't last long. You know what I mean? We don't last long, especially if you're on it for health purposes, like the bounce back of those health.
You know what's wild, man?
Symptoms come back.
This is something that people don't
really
talk about
fast.
either. Is like, so there is a lot of people that are on carnivore diets or ketogenic diets and things like that as like elimination diets to like try to find things that they're allergic to and things like that. But the whole reason why you have allergies to begin with, typically a lot of these are from the fucking pokes to begin with, because what happens is like so in theory, what a vaccine is, right? They introduce like a dead, like version of whatever fucking bug this is, right? So let's say it was polio. They introduce like a dead version and they fucking stick it in your body, and your body's supposed to look at it and it's supposed to be harmless because it's dead, but your body also is supposed to freak out a little bit and build an immunes whatever the fuck they are, antibodies, right, towards this like fucking germ, and so that's supposed to like immunize you. But if you just throw some dead bacteria in there, like your body kind of looks at it like it's dangerous, but kind of doesn't really give a fuck. So what they do is they have to put a bunch of antigens in. And so these antigens are like designed to like stress you out and to flare your fucking immune system and get you all like, what the fuck is that? And so they put like aluminum, they put all kinds of like, or all the fucking fucked up shit that they put in the heavy metals,
make a
the
cocktail of shit.
The cocktail of shit in there, because that literally makes your body like freak the fuck out. And then it also has the dead germ in it. And then they go, oh, fuck. And then they'll build the antibodies against that dead germ. But what's also going on is like, maybe you're eating like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at the same time when you got your fucking jab. And so your body freaks out. And so now it tells your body to like attack when you get peanut butter.
Right.
Like, that's where all these like kids are like, dude, when I was a fucking kid, there wasn't one fucking kid. Like I'm 35. So I'm a little older than you probably. So there wasn't one kid in my class that was allergic to peanuts. Not one. Mm-hmm. There was like a couple kids that were allergic to milk or something, but and there was no autistic. I was probably the most autistic kid there. You know what I mean? And
I feel you. I mean, I'm wearing a mask and shit.
Yeah, dude. Now it's fucking wild, dude. It's like 3/4 of the kids can't have fucking peanuts or gluten or all kinds of fucking wild shit.
Yeah,
because
bro.
They went from the vaccine schedule of like maybe 20 to now they're getting like 80 by the time they're 2.
I mean, I come from a medical family on my father's side, and we can talk about this later and get into it. There's no knock on the technology of vaccine, which is the other side of it. Like I say, I like to nurture debates, right? The thing is it's exploited now. You know what I mean? Like you said, the technology of injecting an antigen that, like an alien antigen that you might not be exposed to, and then you having an antibody reaction to that could be effective, right? But if you mix in all that other shit, that's when it gets crazy. Just like food, right? Like McDonald's used to be pretty healthy back in the day. You know what I mean? That's why you see a lot of old people that eat McDonald's every day that still fucking are like 85 or like 90 and shit. You know what I mean? And you're over here as a vegan trying to live long and shit. Fucking grandma's eating Wendy's every day and shit and a Coke. But it also makes me fucking trip out because I smoke weed and shit. And, the whole push of legalization of weed. I don't even trust legal weed no more, bro. I go to trap shops and shit, and I go to legal weed and shit. It's enough to get taxed, but god damn, I always tell people this. If you paid like taxed amount of money for the legal weed you get in high school, we'll go find you after school and beat the shit out of you. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this? Some mid. So I don't trust legal weed. There might be stuff that they're putting in there too. You know what I mean? And this whole push on legalization of mushrooms, I'm kind of suspicious about that too. You know what I mean? So
yeah, buddy. I mean, no, like I agree with you because like there's been a reason why they've kept it illegal for as long as they did, because I think that it makes people open their mind a little bit and start questioning reality and starts making them, they start having them fringy fucking thoughts where you're like, am I really happy? Yeah, I have to fucking get up at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Then I have to fucking work all day for this fucking company that I hate. You know what I mean? You start questioning, you start looking at the chains that you were born into. They fucking slap, like the second you become a citizen, dude, you're like born into like $100,000 worth of debt. There's like promissory notes that like you are supposed to become a tax cattle too to help pay off this debt that you never fucking had any fucking choice in the matter. You know what I mean? The whole thing. Right. So you start doing a little acid, you start doing a little fucking mushroom, start smoking a little weed. You start questioning these fucking chains that are on your wrist. You start seeing them. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like kind of a break into the fucking matrix. You're like, wait the fuck a minute. When the fuck have these been here?
Right.
And so I think, dude, honestly, the whole push with this new shit, like it's way fucking stronger than it ever has been. Like I'm from Humboldt County, so like I grew up with like fucking fireweed, like
Hell yeah.
really fucking good weed. So it's always been good. But this shit that like you're getting now, like, dude, I fucking smoked a dab with my buddies. I had a conversation with myself for a half hour. Like I was out of my goddamn mind. Like it's enough to fucking put you in a fucking like skits. You know what I mean? It's fucking wild, dude.
That's funny. CRISPR on cannabis. Damn.
For at least a decade. Yeah.
Let me get some of that shit. I'd be down to hit it. You know what I mean? No knock on it. It's just I want to know what if it's, you know, altered. You know what I mean? Just like the vaccines. Like
I guarantee
people will still take it. I just want to know what's in that shit. You know what I mean? Just that transparency
it's also this push, dude, where they're putting a bunch of people on like psych meds, and then it interferes with the fucking weed, and everybody's on fucking psych meds now. Yeah, everybody's fucking depressed because reality sucks. Because the reality that we're in sucks. And so what do the fucking psychologists say? No, it's not that. There's something wrong with you. So just take these fucking pills and then you'll be fine. You know, and then I think they want people to skits out. You know what I'm saying? It's like
also like there's this push of a heavy push of smoking weed. So, you know, we'll talk about music and MK Ultra too. Maybe hip hop and rap was pushed heavily after rock to kind of promote weed usage, and now weed's legalized. You know what I mean? Because we're a whole fucking what's up, Thomas?
What up, y'all?
Talking about rap and programming. We're human beings. I mean, I feel like you guys can all agree we're a bunch of just chemical reactions, right? Like dopamine, you know what I mean? Whatever you eat, you know what I mean? Hormones, all that shit. Now you add in the vaccines, you know what I mean? Now you add in the weed. Everyone reacts differently on weed, you know what I mean? There's some people that can use it to just chill. There's some people that could use it to stop seizures. There's some people that can use it to fucking talk to demons. And there's some people that fucking probably shouldn't do it. You know what I mean? So the fact that it's normalized and everyone that listens to rap's like, man, smoke weed now. You know what I mean? It's
a weird thing, right?
Everyone.
Like
it's not for everyone.
To me, like there was a place for all of this shit because like they found cannabis and like so like old like Roman Catholic tradition, you know, the fucking dude. Like, I'm not a Catholic, so I don't know the names of the dude. I think he's some sort of priest. He like walks around and he swings those smoke balls around. You know what I mean? They walk down up and down the aisles and shit. Like some of those oldest churches, yeah, there was fucking cannabis in those balls, dude. So they were getting people all fucking lit, and then they were really feeling the Holy Spirit. You know what I'm saying? They were really getting in on that shit. And so to me, dude,
how good could it have been back then, though? Like, how good could it have really been in 1600s?
I don't know, dude. Bro, they were throwing around like smoke bombs. You know what I mean? Like getting a place like fucking loaded.
And but with no genetic tolerance, bro, with no genetic tolerance for weed, you'd fucking trip out. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if there's such thing as no genetic tolerance because we got cannabinoid receptor. I mean, we call them cannabinoid receptors.
Say, dude, we're like genetically like born to fucking take weed. Like we're supposed to. Like our body's like.
But like, where we're at right now, I feel like our grandparents and our parents smoked so much weed. I mean, personally, for me, that I feel like if we were to go back in a time machine and inhale that smoke, we'd be like, what the fuck is this shit? Opposed to, you know, actually living in that time with not having those genetic tolerance that we've built up.
Sounds like it sucks, man. I'd rather have some of that 30% OG Skywalker or something.
Go back and swap it out.
Oh, bro.
I guarantee you, dude, like
that's what you had to do to take out Hitler, bro. You bring him back some like OG fucking purple Urkel or something.
Damn.
Would that have taken him out, dude? I don't know. I think he just would have like. I mean, maybe he would have quit killing people. I don't know. He just would have wanted like.
Maybe he would have been better at artwork.
Or you would have probably
he wouldn't have gotten kicked out of art school. Maybe.
Thomas, pull up some fucking Hitler art. Is it any good?
What? Oh. I wasn't prepared to do anything strenuous here.
That's funny. No, but what's funny is I don't have any niche or like favorite conspiracy theory or conspiracy topic that I like to go into. What's funny is after you go deep down into any rabbit hole in the nucleus, it goes down to like, self-improvement and spirituality. So,
Dude, that's pretty
like you said,
fucking fire.
it's all about just doing your best, right? You know what I mean?
Dude, he kind of gave that broad a hook nose, though, didn't he? She's got a big ass nose. That's fucking hilarious. Did he paint a Jewish lady?
Wasn't his mom Jew? Wasn't he basically Jewish?
I mean, according to the theories, he was a Rothschild bastard. Yeah. Dude, I mean,
This is better than I
The
can
guy
do.
was fucking multi-talented in all kinds of different ways.
Oh shit! No, I'm not co-signing that. All I'm gonna say is, that dude is like puking, right? It's like a puking.
What
Beard?
does it say down there? Something Hitler?
Yeah, it's his name, 1908.
That's his shit.
Yeah,
these are
this
all
is probably
paintings
not
that
his best work.
Hitler made.
Bro, I bet I've seen some of those paintings in some of people's like bathrooms and shit. God damn it.
Oh damn, he was doing cartoons.
Thomas low-key becomes a fan.
Is this it's like Pinocchio, or is this? Oh no, this
Yeah,
is that
baby.
movie with Nicolas Cage and the pig.
I don't know what that is.
Damn, visionary.
Yeah, that's pretty.
This
wild.
painting
That's
was a
pretty
Hitler
goddamn
painting.
good, dude.
Yeah, this one right here.
This is an
Huh.
original Adolf.
It's called Jesus, Child of Jesus Christ.
You
Yeah,
can
Lord,
see that like something poked through the canvas or something right
I
here.
thought that was a UFO.
Damn.
It's not that good.
It's pretty goddamn. Okay,
It's better than I
can't
could
that.
do, but let me just say
Yeah.
it's not that good.
How much could you sell that for? $1
Dude,
million?
so much.
I don't.
So much. It's got to be worth so much.
Right?
money.
I feel
What,
like
are
it's
you
the
gonna take a
content.
Van Gogh over that? Like,
So some would
You
think
could
it's
take a
more
Rembrandt?
valuable that it's
Where are you
from,
meeting
know.
somebody? Like, where's the meetup to exchange this thing?
Dubai, probably. They hate Jews
Yeah.
too. Like, they can afford it. Like, it's probably.
Yeah, I think it's like a
in the
different
Middle East.
flavor of hate, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But dude, there's actual like historical evidence of them getting along. Like there was like literal like the Palestinians and a lot of the fucking Arabs were homies with some of the fucking elite Nazis and shit. It's pretty.
I mean, I get
interesting
that,
to
but
dig
I
into.
mean, I don't know if they're
That'd
going
be
to put up a picture of white Jesus in their house.
Maybe.
That'd
I
be a
mean,
crazy
those
fuck
other
you.
pretty ones, they, I don't know. Those were kind
I
of
stand corrected. It's slightly better than expected, but it's still not that great.
Thomas is just being a hater.
You think he approached his reign creatively, like as an artist?
Well, I mean, if you look at it though, right? There's been no other military in recent history that has put so much effort into like the occultism of the uniform and how much the uniform and everything else, like the whole
He
cadence
mixed
of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he actually saw how to orchestrate it and turn the military into more of like this all-encompassing like state religion. And I mean, we kind of have a state religion, but it's like corn dogs and Mountain Dew type of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why our empire's in decline, dude. You need to have like a stable myth. You know what I mean? You have to have that mythos that like the entire people believe. Like for a while, we had like American exceptionalism. We had this like nationalist fervor, and we believed in like American exceptionalism. Like America was like the fucking beacon on the hill. Like I'm talking like 1950s, like right after World War II, too. Like people thought we were the fucking good guys. We had like the authority, the mantle from God. We were like God's chosen people. Like we were defending, you know what I mean? And we just destroyed Hitler and we fought communism and all this other bullshit. Nobody buys that shit anymore. American exceptional, that mythos is dead. And that's why it's like we're the sick man of.
Was it true? Was it actually true?
No.
That was a quick no.
Take off my shirt. So. You guys got a titty flash.
Dude, I hope you get a super chat out of that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
I
a
didn't
cycle.
even see a super chat pop up.
I feel like it's a cycle. Like people are all in on this religious belief, and then slowly it declines, and then some kind of war has to happen, or some catastrophic event has to happen in order to build another mythology, in order to kind of sell
30
people in
seconds,
again.
like after 9/11, right? There was like
Right.
some serious fucking camaraderie and homogeneity again.
Even fucking
Like
2020, bro. There was a low key civil war going on. You know what I mean?
There we go. At least Raven appreciates it. There we go.
Nate with the bang booby. Nah, I'm just
Body.
But yeah, got crazy stuff.
No, dude. I mean, this country is like, I don't know if it is really like, Thomas. What do you think about that whole that fucking Russian dude that supposedly came here in 1980 and he was a defector from the USSR, and he said that he started like trying to destroy American culture from within, and like they're like infiltrating the colleges and like are in like learning like institutions.
Lex Friedman.
Oh man, I can't think of his fucking name right now. You know who I'm talking about, right, Thomas?
I don't. I know who Lex Friedman is.
Desmond. There we go. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. The dude at the beginning of Call of Duty game, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. And like, if that's true, dude, it worked. I mean, they've like.
Yeah, I mean that's also like the Elders of Zion claims too, where it's just like there's a formula, right? There's a formula how you can build society, and there's a formula how you can break down society, and just like stating little elements of that formula doesn't make you the chef, but like if you know the recipe is dangerous, right? It's like there's all kinds of stuff that's real easy to make. Like if you mix like bleach and ammonia or something together, or like there's things you can do with the easiest combinations. I don't know if we're gonna get taken down for explaining how to do anything crazy, but
I mean, think about this. It's got to be coming also from the inside. You know what I mean? They have to infiltrate. I mean, maybe that's part of the formula. They have to fucking, yeah.
What's inside or outside though, too, when we're talking about like
make everything gay.
We're talking about abstract concept like government, right? So what's really inside the government and outside the government? It's not like there's an
institutions,
actual,
buddy.
It's just an abstract concept. Like an institution is the people that work for the institution, and they got private lives outside the institution.
It's that Fabian socialism, right? It's that slow fucking creep. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're ready to fucking bite. I think we're getting close, dude. I don't know what that bite's gonna look like. I don't know like what they're gonna fucking try to do. And I don't know if it's gonna be successful. It's gonna be
a mosquito bite, it sounds like.
Yeah, buddy. I think that's what I'm talking about. Is like that slow creep where they're just like, you know what? Oh, these faggots won't get their jabs. All right, we're gonna put it in the food. Oh, these faggots won't get their jabs. Well, we're gonna put it in the mosquitoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
God damn it, 5-leaf clover. Every time he's on here, he's like, I've seen the future and it's pottage and pain.
That's why I mean, like you said, getting into these rabbit holes sometimes can get depressing. You know what I mean? Like it feels like the walls are slowly closing in, and you kind of have to do your best. You know, you could still find joy in some bullshit, and we're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So
that's what I'm here for, dude. The joy and the bullshit.
Yeah,
that's
baby.
What the show is.
We're here for the memes only.
Yeah. So what are your favorite topics as far as conspiracy theory goes? You guys like cryptids, obviously. You know what I mean? We talked about. I want to say the A word, because the A word's pretty sensitive, but
adrenochrome.
There you go. I just want to be responsible for getting it flagged.
Yeah, Nate doesn't care. We can say anything you want.
We give a shitty alley oop to you. Yeah. Nice dunk. Nice dunk.
Yeah, what do you want to talk? Dude, adrenochrome. I mean, honestly, like I love cryptids, but I like cryptids the same way that I like watching like Saturday morning cartoons. So there's a time and place. I don't watch it all day, every day, but like all day, every day. Secret societies, Bavarian Illuminati, Bohemian Grove, Skull and Bones, Adrenochrome, MK Ultra, Freemasons.
Dude, we had fucking Tony Merkel on last night, and we didn't even talk about cryptids.
We didn't, did we? That's crazy. We talked about Jesus the whole time.
The best.
We talked Jesus the whole time.
Someone brought up pedo Jesus. That was kind of wild.
Yo,
That's
is that
spicy.
the Catholics Jesus or what?
Oh shit!
Raven says Thomas can't stand the Jews.
Yo,
I stand all over the time.
He likes
that's
meat just fine.
that's a topic worth going into. That's very heavily barred. I feel like. Have you guys gone into
Have you gone into a
talk
Jew
about
before?
everything, buddy?
Khazarians, Jewish, the Zionists, and all that?
Yeah, I mean, the Zionist thing doesn't really mean Jewish at all. Like, you could be pro-Zionist for a million different reasons.
I would say the majority of the Zionists in the world aren't fucking Jewish. They're white Anglo-Christian Americans that are just like that's
wanna
the
see, like,
majority
some
of the
end
fucking
times.
Zionists.
Well, isn't there
ASAP.
a whole diverse set of like Jewish people? Doesn't just mean one set of people, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I mean,
only
Jews
two sets.
nowadays aren't
No,
even
I'm just
fucking
kidding.
Jewish, buddy.
It's like
not
infinite.
even dude. It's a more it's also like a culture and like a birthright at this point because it's like 90% of the fucking Jewish people are secular and atheists and shit, and they're also still considered Jews. And then I mean, and also the majority of them don't even have blood ties back to the land of Jerusalem. They're just a bunch of fucking white Europeans that pretend they're Jews, and then they're not even fucking Jewish by religion. So I'm like, what are we doing? Shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
We fucking
I've heard
I
it
don't know,
described in a horrible way, but it's almost like saying you're Italian, but then like just because you're Italian, like Northern Italian, Southern Italian, Sicilian, like those things actually mean things to people.
Mhm.
But it's not like you just were born in one spot and like you're just a Sicilian person for the rest of your life. And it's just kind of like
go to
regional.
fucking Italy and tell them you're Italian, and they're gonna be like, "Get the fuck out
Yeah,
of here, idiot."
yeah, it's a good point on that. And like what you're kind of bringing up is like in historically they would compare like Sephardic Jews to Ashkenazi Jews, which is kind of like say like Ashkenazi saying like the European version, and then Sephardic being everybody else, like everyone that's not the European version. But even that is so damn broad. I mean, what
Yeah.
we really need to talk about is just the Rothschilds specifically. Like, if we can just focus on that name and that bloodline and trace its roots, I think that's way more, like there's more root there than there would be to just try to cast this big net about a huge swath of people. You know what I mean?
I've had somebody explain it to me, and I don't know if this is correct or not, but they were one of the banking elite families from Italy, and they weren't even one of the top ones. They were like somewhere in the middle, and they fucking like climbed their way to the top. And then eventually, what happened is they kind of got in good graces with Napoleon during like the 1820s or whatever the fuck, 1780s, and they started like loaning him money and started funding those wars, right? And so that's how they like kind of got in with like royalty. So they kind of, I mean, not that Napoleon was royalty, he was an emperor and was kind of anti the fucking, anyways, but we can be autistic if we want. But he got in, they got in with that, and they were the Bowers, and they changed their name to the Rothschild, meaning Red Shield, which was their insignia that they put on top of their door. And they were just money lenders, basically, and they became wildly rich and powerful. And then what one of them did was they started like splitting their families off to like different fucking sectors of the world, and said like you're still Rothschilds, but like we're like, they're sending you to different dominions, and started doing their thing. But also when Napoleon lost that battle at Waterloo, right? They had made some fucking bets, and they had their spies in France at Waterloo, like watching that shit happen, right? And they were like fucking keeping an eye on it. And they told these British bankers, hey, Napoleon won. And so all of their debt, all their fucking money was about to be like worth nothing, dude. And so these Rothschild bankers were like, okay, well, we'll buy up all the fucking the banknotes, we'll buy up all the fucking the bonds and shit. And what actually had happened is that Napoleon had lost. And so they were selling all their bonds at like basically at nothing.
Mhm.
And so then the Rothschilds got way fucking powerful and basically like took over the Bank of England at that point. And here's where it gets interesting, that they bought their way into royalty at that point, because then they fucking said, well, we're also going to marry so they had one of the Rothschilds marry into the royal family, take like Queen, whoever the fuck it was, like one of the daughters, and then from there started breeding themselves into the fucking royal fucking bloodline, and that's how they secured their fucking like dominant hand
That's
over
pretty
Europe.
baller. That's a pretty baller lineage, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, dude. I mean, they were just up and coming. They fucking took advantage of the situation, and look at them. They're winners.
It's kind of what's
happening.
happening.
Winning.
It's kind of what happened currently right now. Isn't like BRICS currency kind of buying out people's debt so that they adopt a currency now? So, I mean, shifting towards cryptocurrency is not far off. You know, with the dollar losing value, it's a weird time right now. I feel like Thomas, you said you wanted to be a part of something culturally that's kind of conspiratorial. I feel like it's looming. You know what I mean? It might be like a few years from now or next year. I feel like something crazy is going to happen pretty soon. But the Rothschild, do you think that bloodline goes back? Like, how far back do you think that bloodline goes back to?
I don't know if it has to even go back that far. I think that it might, but I think that they were just smart and they were opportunists and they fucking took full advantage, and they happened to be Ashkenazi Jews, I guess. And I mean, so maybe that's where they got their start, because there was supposed to be no there's supposed to be no usury among Muslims, and there's supposed to be no usury among Christians. And so kind of Jews, they kind of fell into that because there was a need for money exchange. There was a need for banking, basically. And so they were allowed to. And then because of that, they became fucking really rich and prosperous. And then when they would kind of hold that shit, like their debt over, their landlords or people that would treat them like shit. And eventually, I mean, they would just start taking the majority of the fucking currency of sometimes of countries and cause massive
well, also don't, I mean, there's a huge dynamic here not to leave out, and that's the whole time that they're amassing all this wealth, they're still forced to live in ghettos, and they're not allowed to own property, and they're being forced to live 12, 15, 20 plus people to a tiny little house and just make everything work. And then during the day, working for everyone that's allowed to spend, they're actually richer than a lot of the people they're even working for. And you can keep passing all the things that you're earning down to your kids because you're not allowed to pass it off. You're not allowed to go out and spend anything. And then the second that, the Jews are basically stopped getting banned, and this is kind of through that whole Balfour Declaration, right? That was the first Jewish person that was allowed in parliament. So the same time that the Jews stopped getting oppressed worldwide or across Europe is also the same time that the Rothschild family is and here's where we get our foot in the door. And it's not like they let everybody in. This is a Rothschild bloodline thing. You got to be in the blood in order to get in, It's not you just pop up the Talmud and recite some Hebrew backwards and they're like, oh yeah, this guy's good. No.
Well, and that's the reason why it's not all Jewish people. The people that say it's all fucking Jews are retarded. It's not. That's fucking. It has nothing to do with a guy that owns a fucking deli down the road and sells Reuben sandwiches. That guy has nothing to do with fucking. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe he does, but I don't think so. I don't think so.
They're the target bots for the propaganda, though. You know what I mean? Those type of people are the target audience. I feel like
it was a small fucking group of elite people that fucking were lucky, that ran the fucking banking institutions and consolidated power and wealth, and then started placing their people strategically in different fucking places. I mean, it's that fucking rule book, right? And they did it, and they fucking did it well. And they had no allegiance to any of those countries because all of those fucking countries had treated them like shit, and they were having pogroms all the time, and people
and also, dude, there was almost and I swear I don't mean this in a bad way. It's the only analogy I got in mind, but the hobo code. You know how the hobos could write certain symbols, and it would just give you a layout of the land, don't go in that house. This house will hook you up. This one might have food. And just knowing that, and there's a network, right? Imagine a network of all the hobos are communicating with each other. And I don't mean to compare hobos with Jewish people, but the same thing where they were being ostracized from society. Therefore, they had to form their own networks of information. And because they were also universally being oppressed, they formed this international network of information that hadn't really existed in the same way. And it kind of formed itself as
secret fucking
self-preservation, because holy crap, Like if I'm going to get chased out of my country, I want to know where I can go to that's going to be safe, where are my people and everything. So those lines of communication are well established and well oiled, but like how well oiled is the communication between, you know, France and Italy or like England and Spain? Like they have messengers, but it's not the same as having that like network of information. So the Rothschilds are able not just to use that network to get things like 2 weeks ahead of time, you know? And like imagine the stock market today. If you had 2 weeks ahead of time knowledge before anyone else did, you'd be killing it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they had going on. And then on top of that, like they had imagine it's what we're like going to like a network connection, right? So everyone else is on this like unsecured public network. Anyone can intercept messages, and that happened all the time. Like hackers were basically the pirates that would come in and like steal the messages and find out where the king's going to be and get the gold and everything. But the Rothschilds, Mayor Amster Rothschild, taught his kids this like language that only they understood with each other. So then like they could write letters openly and just have them delivered and not have to worry about all the extra smoke and shadows because only they knew how to read these ciphers back and forth. So I mean, like,
how do you know about
were
that, bro?
What's that?
How do you know about that? What's it called? What's that language called? That's my first time.
I don't even know. It was like their own made up. It was
That's crazy.
It's in a biography book that's completely like non-conspiratorial. I think it's called The Founders or The First Founder or something.
Jeez, that's nuts.
Thomas is part of the Illuminati, so he has special
I believe it,
knowledge.
man. I believe it. That's hilarious. Well, like I said,
Thomas is actually a Rothschild bastard. And
the main push, the shield, if you will, to push this whole movement is obviously religion. You know what I mean? Like the whole practice or the whole battle right now in the Middle East.
But I think the whole battle is fucking power and consolidation and control, and they use religion as a fucking like,
right.
Because like I don't think the majority of those Jews that are in like I don't even think that Bibi Netanyahu is religious. I think a lot of them, like most of them, are fucking atheists.
Do you think Donald Trump's religious?
No.
Yeah, I think it's an act.
Not at all. I think he manipulates them like a motherfucker. Like I do like even his spiritual advisor. What was that blonde lady's name? She was kind of fine, kind of crazy, kind of old. Was like, you know who I'm talking about? Google that, Thomas. Donald Trump's
kind of fine old lady. Yeah, I'm on it right now.
Send me that.
Oh wow, look what just popped up. No.
Yeah.
I want to show you, this is the book. I highly recommend this one. Look at this. Bought back in 2012. But this is called Founder, Portrait of the First Rothschild in His Time by Amos Elon. And it's not like a conspiratorial book, and it's written very much from like a sympathetic point of view of the Rothschild family, but I think it's well worth the read. So
I'm sure, dude.
Interesting. I think there's a clear distinction between spirituality and religion. But my question was, if they, now I'm going to go crazy, you know,
go for it. Man.
If Project Bluebeam somehow projects a deity to come down, be like, hey, you know what I mean, I am the new deity, and let's settle this and make peace in the Middle East.
Soon, dude.
You think that's coming? And you think
they wanted to? They just didn't have the technology before. They wanted to do that.
It's Cuba. Fucking sick right now. I've seen some shit and it looks.
Paula White. Book like look up a fucking thing of Paula White, and we'll play a video of her speaking in tongues. She's a wild bitch, dude. And this is Donald Trump's like this is his spiritual warrior that like speaks to the American Zionists, and she's like, and like she goes hard, doggy. She goes hard in the paint for Jesus and Donald Trump. See, kind of fine older white lady. She is a fucking wild bitch, dude. And this was his like actual like fucking this was his spiritual advisor for the campaign.
Every leader has one, right?
Yeah.
Every leader needs one.
Obama had what's his name? The fucking the dude that hated
the gay dude.
I don't know if he was gay.
The Larry
God
dude.
bless America. God damn America.
The Tucker Carlson fucking interview. with the gay dude.
Oh, dude, that was so much fun, dude. I don't
That
know
was
if I
hilarious.
believe that guy, but like, it was so much fun, dude.
That shit
Yeah, he
was
was
hilarious.
talking about blowing Obama. It was the best, dude.
That's crazy. I didn't know Trump had a spiritual advisor like that, and she spoke in tongues.
Dude, no, I mean, there's like literal a million YouTube clips of her like casting out the demonic Democrats and like, in the name of Jesus, the Democrats are blah blah blah. And like, dude, she goes so hard. She's
Here,
like
let
a
me-
caricature of like everything you could imagine of like a right-wing Christian spirit warrior. Like, she's the best and worst, dude. Here we go.
Strike, and angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa. They're coming
This is a
here.
remix,
They're coming
obviously.
here. In the name of Jesus, from South America, they're coming here.
Is there a beat about to drop?
This was her trying to fix the election. After Biden won. This was her like praying that the
God, you can't work in this earth
A prayer of protection
without partnering
for the country.
labor for Hezekiah. Take care
Where's the speaking in tongues though?
of his heart.
Just wait. I mean, there's a ton. This might be the wrong video. She goes hard with that shit, dude.
Wow.
There be that we would strike the ground, for you will give us victory, God. I hear a sound of abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of shouting and singing. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of victory. I hear a sound of an abundance of rain. I hear a sound of
I think they're all
victory.
remixes.
The Lord
Or is
says
she
it
doing
is
this for
done.
real?
No, dude,
She's just in the
doing this
flow
for real.
zone.
Done.
This is she's flowing right now.
Done. For
Yeah.
I hear victory, victory, victory,
Victory,
victory in the
victory,
corridors of
victory,
heaven, in the
victory.
corridors of heaven. Victory, 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 victory.
This is
For
the worst
angels are
slam
being released
poetry
right now.
ever, dude. This one, this is like the Def
A little bit
Poetry
too much.
Jam with
Here we
this
go,
lady.
listen.
Oh, damn.
For angels have even been
He's
dispatched
spitting.
from Africa right
That
now.
hot fire
Right now, Africa right now, from Africa right now, they're coming
from
here.
Africa.
They're coming here in the name of Jesus.
What's this
South
dude doing
America.
walking back and forth? It's
They're
like
coming
manic.
Here. They're coming here.
Trying
They're
to stop her.
from Africa, South America, angelic forces, angelic reinforcement, angelic reinforcement,
What
angelic
the
reinforcement.
hell's going on here?
Yo, this is wild.
For I hear the sound of victory. I hear the sound
There's
of
got to be YouTube
This
comments that
mission tally,
translate that,
dude.
right?
This
There's got to be
thing's-
some comments that translate that, because that'd be interesting.
What's this channel's most popular video? We're going
எங்க
all in.
கோயில்ல இருந்து திருடி எங்க கோயில் சொத்தை ஆட்ட போடுவீங்க, எங்க கோயில் மூர்த்திகளை திருடுவீங்க. இது கொள்ளிக்கட்டை எடுத்து நம்மளே சொருகிக்கிற கதை இது. அது எப்படி தூக்கி நம்ம
Music is
இந்துவோட
intense.
சொத்தை ஃப்ரீயா கொடுத்துருவீங்க?
It's just like lady
டிஎம்கே
talking.
மூலப்பத்திரம் கேக்குறாங்க இல்லையா, அந்த இடத்துக்கு அதே
It's been hot fire too. I'm she's doing that was tongues, right?
Oh, come on.
I feel like tongue is just in flow zone. You know, you're kind of possessed by like the creative spirit, so you're just kind of just spitting. You know what I mean?
I think it's great. I think it's weird and wacky.
I feel the sound of victory or whatever.
I think, dude. I mean, you know, no shade to anyone that like speaks in tongues regularly, specifically you, Nate, right? Yeah.
I'm a fucking
But I feel like toddlers do this too, though. Like you'll see a toddler like go into a loop where they're just like blah 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 blah. And I mean, it releases dopamine, right? We were talking about that before. We're just floating around chemicals and atoms and you know, things firing off. And I mean, some people, fine, bro. Like, but just admit that you're just kind of like getting high on life. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it's a stroke.
Sometimes it's a stroke, and everyone's just like, "Grandma's got the spirit of Jesus in her," but really, she's having a brain hemorrhage.
hallelujah.
For real.
It's almost like this weird version of like Grandma Who Cried Wolf, but it's like Grandma spoke in tongues so often that you couldn't tell that she actually had Alzheimer's.
But
Shit.
like there was something you were talking about, Joe Rizzi, a little bit ago. You were talking about like schizophrenics and this and that. I was like, there was a time where the schizophrenics, there was a place for them. You know what I mean? There was a place for them, and they were actually fucking. Here we go. We got.
It wasn't a good place.
What
dude, they were
they were like
the fucking
shamans or what?
shamans, dude. Yeah,
Oh
they were the
shit,
fucking.
got
They
you,
were
bro.
the like
Well,
wild as more. They were
that's a
like
very romantic version of this, though. But I mean, like, not every crazy person you meet out in public necessarily was going to be a shaman in a previous generation.
There's definitely a spectrum of
Well, there's a lot of
schizophrenia.
drug addicts, Thomas.
So I feel
I
like
mean, there's a lot of shamans that might have like gone a little bit too lost in the sauce too.
Maybe they would have all been shamans, Thomas.
I mean, was before the Rockefeller system, there was no real credentials. Like if you had the supply, you were the shaman, right? You were the plug.
You could have been the
that's true.
crazy for your town, buddy. Now we have that lady. I mean, tell me she's not a fucking skits and needs to be under a fucking bridge.
So there is an idea that
Angels from Africa right now, from South America. I feel the angelic
schizophrenic people
victory,
might be seeing
victory.
Seeing kind of the reality, you know what I mean, that we don't see. That's kind of access through like psychedelics and all that shit. You know what I mean? So that constantly bleeding in will make for a manic, crazy person. You know what I mean? So that's what I said. There's probably like there's probably a gradient and a scale and a spectrum of schizophrenic. And I think the middle happy ground is where we get all the shamans, maybe.
It's the ones that know how to take themselves to that
somehow,
extreme.
But I measure that somehow, hit me up.
I think the difference really is that like a true shaman, in my opinion, as you know, freaking a white guy with bald head, but like a true shaman would be kind of like a teacher where they can teach you how to do what they do and how to see the things the way that they see. And if you don't know how to teach somebody else for whatever reason, if you don't want to, or if you're just not good at it, or you don't have the skills, then I don't really think you could have been a shaman that like helped somebody. Because the way that I conceive that is that like a shaman was almost like the OG, you know, plug / psychologist / therapist / maybe he was even like a judge. Like he would just tell you straight up, no, you're wrong. This is the way. And we've got some remnants of that, like in the Catholic service, right? You go and you do confessions and you tell everything you've done bad. And like, okay, now you got to do like this many things and go do, you know, these different sort of like rituals, and you'll be cleansed of it. And it's like the shaman is kind of like a much better version of that. But he's like, go eat these 5 mushrooms and go trip out for 3 days and come back to me when, you know, you've sat in the corner and thought about this for a while.
I grew up Catholic and then I grew up Christian. And so growing up in that environment, I've seen a lot of jabroni pastors, man. And I would like to think that
it's a jabroni pastor.
The jabroni pastor is like that. He goes in there and makes the stupid dad jokes, you know what I mean? And then spits a fragmented speech of a fragmented piece of the Bible, like a verse, and somehow makes it into a thing, and then prays, and then does the whole like altar call, cries.
Buddy, you know, you're hurting me right now because I'm writing my sermon for tomorrow. I'm not kidding.
Are you guys? I wanted to ask. I was going to lead to this question. Are you guys religious? You know what I mean? But I was going to say, I feel like there's shamans out there that, you know, see the power in it, that might preach, hey, we don't need to take these drugs or these, you know what I mean? And try to preach against going to that plug and manipulate things in order to kind of make their message a little more plausible. You know what I mean? On some Nightcrawler shit, like Jake Gyllenhaal, that Jake Gyllenhaal movie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, like controlling the chaos and then pretending like, oh, I just showed up at the right time.
Like, see, I told you. You know what I mean?
Well,
which there's a lot of psychics that do that shit too. You know?
Well, like cold reading is one of my favorite topics to like get into because it's sort of it's like this early pseudoscience that kind of cross over with NLP and stuff. But like one of the key things, and salesmen do this all the time, is just never saying the word no, or like an improv. I don't know if any of you guys have ever like known someone or done like improv yourselves, but one of those rules is that you just never say no. Like you just always, everything's affirmative. It's always yes and right. But that's also a very good cold reading technique. So if you're one of those dudes, I don't know how old you guys are, like in the mid 90s, late 90s, there was the dude that would like go on TV and just be like, I'm feeling a Frank, you know what I mean? And someone in the back would be like, Frank was my uncle. And he'd be like, yeah, it's definitely you, you know, and he would start going into it. And you
used to get a little drunk and handsy, didn't he?
Literally.
But it's a key technique. It would just be like, yes, like you would just always gravitate towards anyone that's being receptive and just say yes and feed into it. And that's kind of
Frank
the same
says
thing.
He's fingering you right now.
Right.
Oh my God, it's Frank. I can feel him.
Have you ever, you ever heard of James Randi? So James Randi had this thing called I think it was called the Randi Challenge or the Supernatural Challenge. He would basically say
heard of this guy. Yeah.
that if you could prove you were a psychic or had any sort of supernatural ability in a controlled environment, that he'd give you $1 million. And like many people came, and he was the one that basically was attributed to debunking Uri Geller, the guy that said he could bend spoons and stuff. James Randi is kind of this guy that sets that like boundary between like, I don't know, like putting it on the line to say, okay, come here in this controlled environment and actually do this.
That's hard because, you know, there is the observer effect too, you know what I mean? And the double slit experiment, which is a fucking fascinating experiment if you look into it. But objectively, there is something that happens when there's a stage set of like, you know, there's kind of a expectation to prove something, you know what I mean?
Well, this guy's other claim to fame too was that I think it was in the 80s, Popov Industries was this guy that would sell like miracle spring water, and you'd get it in the mail, or you like sprinkle it on your mailbox.
You're talking about Peter Popov, right?
Yeah, Popov Industries. Yeah. And so James Randi went into one of his big like tent sermons that they would take out on the road with like a radio scanner, and he hacked into whatever frequency that they were using in these things, and he actually had them like
that.
And then he'd be like, go get him, Peter.
In those tent revivals. I grew up in those tent revivals as a kid. Like I was in and out of fucking tents, sleeping on the floor.
No way.
Like my mom was taking me to those like all the time. And that was a big deal about Peter Popov because like obviously that was before my time, because that like happened like 1985 or something like that.
He was still around, dude. He made a huge comeback and still kept doing Peter Popov Industries for a while. I swear that this is not a fever dream, but I like kind of what Jerezy was saying. Like I remembered at some point in church, you know, Roman Catholic service, but they would pause while they were getting ready to pass out the Eucharist, which is supposed to be like the most sacred part. Like, you're about to take a bite out of Jesus, right? And as they would prepare for that, they'd start reading out like it was a commercial break, and then be like, oh, you know, the so-and-so is having a 20% off sale. Make sure you go and support this. Blah, blah. And I get that it was like a local community. In retrospect, it's actually kind of cool that they were like supporting each other. Yeah. But all I heard was like, is this a fucking commercial break in church? Like, what is going on here?
Wait, did he change the tone to a commercial tone, or was he like?
Well, they had like a special person go up to the podium and take over, because it would just be like sermon. And then, okay, and now after this commercial break, you know, everyone eats Jesus. And then it was like another guy would come up to the podium and just read out these. Anyways, that was like a weird place for me to I don't know. It kind of like took me out of the whole, it's no longer the sacred ritual anymore. Like,
yeah,
I can just change the channel now.
Jesus so bland. Like if I'm eating some flesh, like could you put a little salt on there?
Dude, this is gonna sound weird, but I would go to get the Eucharist, and I would keep it in my mouth and pretend like I was eating it, and I would get back to like the pew, and I would take it back out and put it in my pocket, and I saved a bunch of them, and I would do like experiments with them and shit. I'd like burn them, or I'd try to like soak them in. Yeah, bro, because I mean, I legitimately believed at a certain point that like this might be magic, because this
is the blood too, bro, or what? That's the essence.
no, because like when I was younger, and plus, bro, it was weird, like seeing all these old people go up and drink out of the same cup, and all they do is just wipe a little thing off. Like it was so gross to me. Like I never wanted to drink the backwash of like 100, you know, elderly people from South Florida.
Hilarious, bro.
But yeah, man, I never found anything cool about it, but I saved a whole bunch of them. I did all kinds of weird shit with Eucharist to see what would, nothing like that. I mean, it was like 12, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on. I already see Nate's fucking wheels spinning.
Dude, no, yeah.
That's
all
funny.
kinds of things.
It's like,
came to my
in
mind.
Jesus' name, make sure check out Reality Stars and the K podcast. Thank you guys. You know what I mean? I'll see you guys next Sunday. But I wanted to transition into this. Are you guys religious? I mean, what's your religious background?
I don't like to say, all right, I'm going to get real gay right now. I have a
Fucking gay.
relationship with Jesus.
Hey,
It's not a religion.
I practice kind of
Yeah.
the same thing, brother. I try to be Christ-like, right?
Yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah,
I like to call it. I like to call it like being a Christ follower. I don't even really call myself a Christian.
Yeah.
What's the speaking in tongues thing about though?
That's
So
what
did
I grew
Christ-
up
did
doing.
Christ
Dude.
speak
Like,
in tongues?
I got the gift of the Holy Ghost when I was like 5 years old.
Wait,
did
so
Christ, did
you
Christ
speak
ever
in-
speak in tongues?
What's that?
Did Christ ever speak in tongues?
No, it happened at the day of Pentecost after Christ was dead. So, like, the story of the Pentecost is that there was a group of the apostles, and they were like in downtown, like Jerusalem or something, right? So you're like in the Middle East somewhere around that area that's contested right now, right?
Mhm.
And there was a bunch of foreigners there, and literal flaming tongues came from heaven and hit people in the fucking head. Like it like came into their body, like hit them, and they started speaking languages. And so like people that had only known I can't what's the fucking language they all spoke? I can't even remember. Were now speaking Greek. They were now speaking Latin. They were now speaking like all the different tongues. They
That sounds like
started
bullshit.
speaking,
I'm just gonna
they
say
started
it.
speaking Egyptian. They started like
Sounds
speaking
psychedelic.
to Ethiopian, like to all the different people that were there.
It sounds cool, but it sounds silly and like it's bullshit.
And so there were also like angelic languages that were given to people. And so like all these languages that are now spoken are supposed to be languages that are like holy. They're supposed to be like, so what she was doing right now, she was getting a download from heaven and spitting hot fire from God directly.
And that's what that lady was doing that we were watching
Yeah.
a little while ago.
That's the gift of the Holy Spirit, is speaking in tongues. Like she's speaking in an angelic language.
The cases where they speak in angelic languages and then later on it's, later translated and it actually matches, that's the creepy stuff. You know what I mean? Especially if you looked into the history and they have no historic background of knowing what that means. So there
I
are
only
some
know
of those
these things,
cases
like
sprinkled.
secondhand, where like someone will be like speaking in tongues and someone from a different country could understand what they were saying.
Right.
And like there's weird like stories, but like, and it's never happened to me, and I don't speak another language, so how the fuck would I ever know? But I have to take their word for it. Yeah.
Just like there are the jabroni people out there, there could be an accomplice in
Peter
there. It's like, hey,
Popoff kinda shit
yeah,
going
I just be
down,
like,
yeah.
hey, I'm gonna spaz out, just back me up. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, there's another man. I've got I got this huge book of all the tricks that these old like Satanists and occultists would actually use when people would show up to their like little satanic temple or whatever. And it's all just parlor tricks, but it was very coveted. Like a lot of people never kind of like let that gig up. And one of the ones that has blown my mind, it's one of the coolest ones, but it was like this way to tell like someone's birthday, right? So they would say like, oh, I can sense anyone's astrology. I can sense what zodiac you're from, blah, blah, blah. And so what they would do is be like, look, we'll prove it. I'll leave the room. Like I'll go like outside. You can see me outside. I won't be able to hear anything. And then you can just tell everyone else in this room, like you can tell Nate what your birthday is, everything. And then I come back in the room. It works better if it's not online where he can like text me and shit. But what you would do is, and like Nate would know what year, month, and day you were born, right? So me and Nate would have pre-assigned, like when he comes in, he's gonna either like point to one of his knuckles that would represent like the month you were born in, and then he might say, "Here we have," or he'd say, "And this is," and like the letter A is 1, but the letter H is 8. So just the word that he used to introduce you could then tell me like what month it is. Like, so just having these little codes, and it's not hard. You could train yourself to do this in 2 hours. and then blow anyone away. Because then every single person that sits down in that chair, Nate would just tell me exactly what their birthday was, and I could just say it in real time. And you'd be like, how the hell does this guy know everyone's birthday? This is wild, you know? And then imagine this is happening in a time when people didn't have cell phones or internet and weren't as suspicious, I guess.
Right.
Thomas, so how with that whole like, can you tell me about those groups that were doing this? These were like satanic churches or what? What the fuck?
Give me a second. Keep talking. I'll grab the book.
That's like word magic, bro.
Really
right? It's almost like some form of social engineering. You know what I mean?
Well, when it
in
comes
a conversational
to
way,
like that, right? They can't be true believers, because if they really fucking believed, they would feel like God would give them the power. God would tell them these things, right?
Mhm.
So like they have to be going in like knowing it's bullshit.
I actually got a little document scanner. I haven't used it yet. Maybe I'll break it out real quick, see if it works.
it's effective. I mean, the CIA uses those techniques, so like to people that are socially awkward too, you know what I mean, that might yield a yes if you corner them a little bit. You see it in like telemarketers and fucking scammers, you know what I mean? Like they're not people aren't as protected or defensive about that as they think.
Yeah, check this shit out. So this is just some random thing that I found on eBay in like 2002 or something. I was just searching rare occult books, right? So it's called am I showing the right screen here?
The New Invocation, Index 1 through 6.
Right. So the magazine is called The New Invocation, and it's by Scott Gordon, I guess. This shit is so fucking wild. This is a brand new camera, so I'm figuring out how to use it. So here we got I don't know how close I can get here. Yeah, okay.
That broad looks like she's coming.
So we've got announcements, right? Lovecraftian ceremonies, Magic Circle of Dr. Fowles, blah blah blah
ESP.
blah 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 blah. You've got a bunch of and here's like some mental stuff. You've got dragon lore. There's some cool stuff in here, psychic phenomenon. But then let's see. This one's cool. Weird rites and magic rituals. Damballa, Olympia, Lord of the Rings, Reincarnation, Sacrifice. That last one's Work of the Devil. And then you got some awesome artwork in some of these. But if I sort through some of these, and that was just the the title page, right?
Mm-hmm.
So someone had actually got these were printed in the 70s, and someone bound all of them. So they must have had every one of these.
What?
Mere magic. But here I want to see if I can find one where it's literally just stage magic tricks. Here we go. Here's a good example of one. Look. Oh, I'm trying to. Oh, my bad. Hold it. Here we go. Look. Magnetic rope gimmick with a tarbell screw type rope gimmick. So it says the magic: 2 pair of magnetic rope gimmicks, a pair of tarbell rope gimmicks, some rope, a pole and a cloth, and a square makeup of the props. A scar on each wrist is decoration. The rope gimmicks, rope, and pole are assembled as follows. And it's got this whole ritual about scars. But imagine going to one of these black magic rituals and the guy comes out and he shows scars on his wrist or his hands or whatever, and does this whole thing and is telling you the power of Satan, just healed me or took the scars away. And this book is just filled with this stuff. But this book was also not for the masses, right? This there's so many places in here where it's this is the teacher's guide. Don't let the students see this. You know what I mean?
That's
But
crazy.
when it comes to people that are that are doing things like this, they have to be wildly atheists, right? Because they can't actually believe in the power of Satan. If
It
they're
sounds like
pulling
some
parlor
fucking
tricks.
Templar shit, bro. Like some Templar Baphomet shit, no?
Thomas, you're muted, buddy. Thomas, you're on mute.
They
Thomas,
got
we
him.
can't hear you.
Sorry, Mark.
I fingered the button, but I was just saying, look, that was on page 6 or 7 that I had scrolled to. Look at how thick this freaking book is. Again, it was volumes 1 through 6, and each volume was a year, I think. So this is 6 years worth of all of these magic ritual, quote unquote magic rituals. But this was wild, man. I've never even seen or heard of anything like this before. It was a random purchase on eBay in the early 2000s.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But yeah,
Glad we
man. I
talked.
mean, here's proof, right? Here's proof that like some of these occult groups were fucking just doing magic tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
It's believable,
the
bro.
Gray
Think about it,
America,
like
the Gray
obviously,
America guys, Thomas, like they'll take old obscure like books like that and they'll do an audio version of it and they'll fucking sell it. You should like do little audio books like that. Like, because nobody has that book.
No one does have this book, dude.
Yeah.
This is like some crazy shit, dude. You have no idea the collection. One day.
Yeah, buddy. I mean, you have a
Now
nice
that I've got
fucking
this little
voice.
the thing that I showed you, I've been planning
Yeah.
on doing that, just showing off some of the weird books that I got.
Dude, you have a nice voice for that. It would be fucking good. Like I would listen to a book.
Well, thank you, Nate.
but it's all
I have
about
to pee really fast. I will be right back.
it's all about inciting an experience. If you can make it somewhat mystical, right? And you got them, and then from there, you just kind of keep the image and the illusion alive. That's really what it is, and it goes back to I had an episode with my cousin on our podcast, and we talked about the structures of chapels back in the day, how the main centerpiece used to be the organ, right? And how they used to we talked about this in our podcast, like the different frequencies can kind of incite different emotions, different subtle feelings, and like having an organ and like obviously like organs from back in the day where that's the centerpiece of the chapel, they sound fucking like boss music compared to like, some digital piano that you're hearing on Sunday sometimes.
And also people back then didn't have they didn't have digital or even analog recordings of anything. So when they would go to church and be in these cathedrals, that's the only time they'd hear some of those sounds. Like they're not hearing like these nice bids and mids and harmonies and like all the different choruses. They're not hearing that in normal life. Like at the best, they might be humming to themselves or singing something off tune. So when they go in and it's crazy because you're never going to hear those sounds outside of church. They've got stained glass, so you're going to be seeing colors you're never going to see outside of church. They got
the trip,
weird
right?
like frankincense and myrrh and like all these other smells that you're never going to see
Everyone's like
outside
this.
of church. So yes, so you walk in, but you're literally you're transported to a completely different reality, and it's not just like metaphorical. It's literally your senses are now experiencing frequencies that they don't experience at any other time. And when that becomes like your only release from like this horrible, miserable existence, you're just working all the time to just like make sure you have food by the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Like at the most, you might plan weeks or months ahead of time unless you're like the next class up, but at that point you don't really care about any of this.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to mega churches. Like I said, I grew up Christian. I been to small churches, you know what I mean?
Is going to a mega church fun? It feels like going to like a concert, right?
Bro, it's like a concert, man. What's up, Nate? We're talking about mega churches and small community style churches. Yeah, bro.
I grew up in like a small community style church, but I've been to mega churches too. I've been to Bethel.
Sounds fun, man.
Like the big one at Bethel in Reading. That one's fucking enormous, bro. That's
so.
Like
so I've never been to a mega church. Is it like if you went to like
worship team? Their worship team is off the chains, bro.
Dude,
like
Bethel's
next level
is like the best in the world.
Wait, hold on. You said a worship team?
Their worship team, like they're basically their band,
literally
their worship team, but
they got originals sometimes, bro. They got originals sometimes. Like
they're a band or they're a team?
They're a band team.
Okay,
team band.
That's kind of okay.
Yeah,
sure.
No, but going back to the small churches, that's not to say that, we were talking about how, back then the chapels and the organs and stuff, those kind of special effects can make you feel God, right? But that's not to say that the small churches, I've been to small churches that meet in like fucking just like lunchrooms and shit, right? That's not to say that you also don't feel God there as well, right? So, what I mean? Not
the
downplaying
most powerful experiences that I've had were at small churches.
Not downplaying God or like the life energy or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I just feel like I said, there's a lot of exploitation happening to be able to take your energy or your attention or your money. You know what I mean?
Well, they had a monopoly on it, right? Because that was the only, like we were saying, it's the only place you could go. And once you realize that you got a monopoly on it, then you can just say, like, whenever you get someone in that heightened state, again, it's like sales tactics. You get somebody at the peak of their heightened state, and then you sell them the thing that you're trying to sell them. And then that's where the sermon comes in, right? So, I mean, you can convince somebody, hey, this awesome feeling you're getting right now, these new smells and colors and sounds and feelings, that's God. And it's not just any God, it's our God. It's the God that lives in this church. So you better come back to this church next Sunday to keep getting this dose of this particular God. But I think that they're just figuring out ways to trigger, dopamine and serotonin release, and then saying, this is X, this is Y. But really, like, anyone can, I think, put themselves into that same state.
Well, okay, so I've heard like the ideas where that maybe these old fucking chapels or old world that they're like these buildings were created before like Catholicism's consolidation of like culture and
Are we talking
power.
Tartaria right now?
We're talking Tartaria.
Oh shit!
Just say it. Just fucking drop the name, man. Come on.
So we're talking.
There's some cultures and theories, bitch. You're talking about Tartaria,
buddy. We're gonna have a big Tartaria episode coming up. I'm gonna get that shit together. We're gonna have a fucking good time.
Can you have a small Tartaria episode?
Dude, this one's gonna be hard though. We're gonna have some big fuckers on there, and it's gonna be wild.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a good one.
That's
but like, there's that idea that like literally they'll say like, why was this like this instrument called the organ? And they'll say that is because it was literally there to heal your organs.
Yeah.
Like, and so they'll talk about how these buildings were actually designed like geometrically, and how they like just like the way they fucking make the frequency bounce off the fucking pretty windows and all the different edges and everything, that like me playing the organ, I could heal your fucking lungs, I could heal your heart, I could heal your brain, I could take your cancer away. And that like all of this stuff was then like this knowledge was occulted, like this pagan knowledge was occulted by the Catholic Church, and then they fucking like this was a takeover, right? And
let me throw a devil's advocate here with an appropriate name.
Big one, dude. I don't know.
so I mean, I feel like secular or religious or whoever you are, there seems to be overwhelming evidence that just R&R, just rest and recuperation and not being constantly stressed out does wonders for just letting your body take over and heal itself, right? Just through natural biological process.
Thomas, why else would it be called an organ? Okay,
I didn't know that. You know what's interesting?
Illuminati confirmed.
We had a holistic healer named Hydrogen Warrior on our podcast, and he talked about the Tesla coil, right? And it's something that kind of emits a frequency and kind of can clear blockages inside of you. And why it's highly revered in the holistic community is because it's a invasive, non-invasive procedure. So you could kind of, bypass cutting the skin with just the frequency of it.
I don't believe it though.
At the end of the day, silly. You think so?
Oh yeah, that sounds fucking ridiculous.
Tesla coil, look it up.
I can buy a Tesla coil. I've got a Tesla coil. I bought one on Amazon. I don't think that I would trust. Like, if you had all the resources in the world, right? Are you really gonna have a bunch of people hum and play organs around you and shoot you a Tesla coils? Or are you gonna pop your ass in like a $400 million CAT scan machine and get like the laser surgery and shit? Like, I don't know, man. I feel that like when the only other option was bloodletting, then yeah, hell yeah, listening to organ music and chilling out and feeling supported and putting yourself in a different mind state was probably something that could have saved your life, as opposed to just going back out there. But I believe in cymatics. 100%. Cymatics is legit because opera singers, right? They want 432, which is that's the magical frequency, the one that deprograms us, versus 440. But really 432 is more natural to the human body and to the throat, and it's provable because opera singers, when they're forced to sing at 440, it like hurts their throat, but it's easier to tune instruments. So it's like this weird thing where you can prove that 432 is better to the human biology than 440 in a practical way. Rant over.
I think potentially, I haven't looked into the Tesla coil too deep, other than what he said.
You
But
need to get a Tesla coil made out of Oregon that is in the shape of a penis, and you stick this in your ass, and you plug it
You got
in.
some sage before. Don't forget that part.
Then you have to be
look
also
that up. I'm just
sitting on a
kidding.
speaker while you're playing the fucking organ, and then
But
you
just
become immortal.
playing with the placebo effect, right? Like,
yeah, it's legit.
Just relaxing, like you said, can do wonders for you. But even relaxing with an affirmation on top of that, with some music on top of that, could do wonders for you as well too. So
100%, dude.
It's almost like I feel like technology ultimately whoever has technology ultimately controls the power, right? And if you don't have the technology, if you could somewhat fabricate some kind of device, you know what I mean, and somehow create some kind of like, you know what I mean, fake.
But so let's say
you know what I mean. I feel like
you find an old blueprint in an old book from like this old ancient fucking thing, and you sit there and like fucking painstakingly recreate this like amazing fucking tech. I don't know what the fuck Tesla coil, if you want to call it, out of like copper, and then you like you're grounding and you have it, you know, whatever you're fucking doing, and you really believe it's gonna work, like you're saying, it doesn't matter. It's gonna fucking work. Because I honestly, I really believe there's so much to your fucking body and your fucking mind, like that real, like, so all those.
You think it would work if you accidentally chopped your thumb off? You think that would work?
I don't know, dude.
I
I told
scientifically,
you that story where I saw a lady's leg extend in front of me, or it was her arm. It was her. She had like a gimp arm, and they were sitting there praying, and they were hearing the sound of victory, 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 and they fucking yanked this bitch's arm, and it was a gimp arm, and then all of a sudden it was a fucking. Then she could like, I don't know, jerk me off after that because it was like good to go.
I mean, sometimes bloodletting healed people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure it worked for some people, but
well, I don't know. Did the bloodletting heal them, or did they just survive despite having someone take blood out of them? Because a lot of people died from bloodletting with no real benefit. Like, I don't know if they've ever shown a true benefit to bloodletting.
The ones that survived at the time, that therapy was effective for them. You know
was it though? I don't know, man.
Their symptoms were cleared. You know what I mean?
Right, but what if they just got like a deep tissue massage instead of getting bloodletting? I feel like they also would have been great and also wouldn't have lost any blood in the process.
I just think that the appropriate therapy also sometimes doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like if you need a blockage cleared, it's all in your mind. If you're still thinking, you know what I mean? If you're still paranoid after you get the thing taken out of you, you're not fully in the clear. You know what I mean? That thing could still possibly manifest in you or in a different form. You know what I mean? It might be in another spot or something. That's kind of what I'm saying. At the same time, the incorrect therapy could sometimes be beneficial for you because of the placebo effect. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I'm just playing the gray area. You know what I'm saying?
Play that gray area, buddy. I mean, there was a time in the American medical establishment that they thought when women were being like erratic, they were like, you just haven't come good for a minute. And so they were having these broads like when they were showing signs of like anxiety, they would call them manic. They'd be like, oh, this bitch is just being crazy. And like this is before they had like good SSRI drugs and stuff, because now they just put you on SSRIs. But back in the day, the doctor would just be like, all right, get over here. And you'd go, no, like this and finger bang the fuck out of you. And you'd be like, oh! And you just like come like a motherfucker. And all of a sudden, all your fucking symptoms were alleviated because the doctor just finger blasted you. And you're like, like, this is real medical science and history right here, dude.
Oh, it was a flash in time, bro. Like a small moment in time when like that profession existed.
If you think about it,
it might be over here. I'm gonna flick it.
Might be the appropriate therapy for that. You know what I mean? Bypassing all the side effects of going on SSRIs and stuff.
It was probably better for you than all the SSRIs. Like these broads just need to get
or you can like explore your sex life after that.
Blasted again. They just need doctors. They can be safe. They can put on a fucking like nylon glove, put on some lubricant, and just like this.
Jesus.
I think it's gonna save America.
Make that a soundbite, bro.
These Karens, these fucking whack job bitches, they just need to get finger blasted. Like that's what,
Damn.
that's what the doctor ordered.
You can't prescribe that though, but that might be what some people need. You know what I mean?
I'm just curious. Is it controversial to be pro SSRI?
No, I don't think so.
Kind of like for
I
some
feel like that's the
segments
norm,
of it,
right?
yeah.
I feel like the
A lot of
norm is
people
to be
think
pro.
I think I'm a normie. I feel like I'm pro SSRI.
Mm-hmm.
I think just because that they pump, school shooters full of them doesn't mean the SSRI is bad, right? It's kind of like the gun, right? It's not the SSRI didn't pull the trigger. It was fucking the shitty kid of the FBI agent.
Right. Yeah, I feel like
it was the FBI.
Well, like I said, just like we like it affects people differently. And I mean, some people it's like perfect for them. You know what I mean? They don't have seizures and stuff. Some people it's like maybe you shouldn't smoke the just like the finger banging chick. Maybe she needs to go on SRI. Maybe
I'd rather get
orgasm, she's still
than,
tripping.
like,
You know what I'm
my
saying?
blood
So
that was an improvement. That was a right step. Like, and then there was like that sweet spot where they were like, "Hey, finger blasting's gonna help," and then somebody was like, "Hey, let's just put an ice pick in their eye." That like full circle. They're like,
not in the eye. You kind of push the eye out of the way a little bit and like squeeze it in between. And
it's when he started getting like carpal tunnel. You know what I mean? He was like, "Oh, fuck, I'm just like I'm finger blasting all day."
Workman's comp.
damn.
Oh yeah, if they don't come within like 30 minutes, they just get the ice pick.
Or if they're a little fat and ugly, he's like, "You know what? This one's not. I'm not finger blasting that one. This one looks like Gorlock. Like this one's getting the pick."
I know someone for you, specialist. Get a referral. But going back to healing placebo effect, I mean, and I want to talk about like word magic and spells because we got into that too. Like abracadabra kind of healed people at the time too, right? So I wanted to ask.
I think that's bullshit.
Okay, Thomas, I like how you shoot a lot of things down. Do you think that certain phonetic sounds and terms can incite some kind of like supernatural effect?
Yeah, I think so? Well, hold on. Supernatural? No.
Okay. Maybe
I think you could like you can like NLP or something. Like if you utter the right phrases in the right way, you can put somebody into a more agitated or less agitated state, more receptive, less receptive. And if you know the ones like the way to say things, you can get someone into a state that's a little bit more agreeable to what you're trying to do. But I don't think that there's like instant magical powers where like you just immediately fall asleep or you just immediately turn good or bad. I think that's kind of silly.
All you got to do is you got to drop the name of JC, buddy. It works, and then that's one of these wild things.
But doesn't that just mean Zeus?
Jesus.
Have you not heard that? Have this one that it stands for Io Zeus, which really meant like Hail Zeus. So therefore, every time someone calls it Jesus, it's actually sort of like heresy because you're really praising Zeus in the name of Jesus.
And then, I mean, even more than that is like when they end a prayer and amen, that is like amen or amen hopeb. And that was like a fucking sign of a fucking, one of the fucking pharaohs, like you were saying. Like, I don't know, but it works. And it's a cultural thing. Like, to me, that maybe there's something to it as far as like, if you want to like go down the route of like, Thomas, what's that when you when like people build something like in their mind and they kind of like create a being or make something powerful like kind of in a weird agregoric way, the name of Jesus, because so many people put stock in that name. I've heard the arguments that's the reason why, like because there is some powerful things that happen sometimes when you say, I declare this in the name of Jesus. I've seen things happen. I've seen like lives change. I've seen like demons come out of people.
But you
in the
don't
name
even
of
see
Jesus.
more than like 0.03% of the visible spectrum. So I don't know how reliable your shitty eyeballs are.
That's the thing about the fine line between spirituality and religion. You know what I mean? Because I feel like spirituality is exploring without bounds, like the astral. You can't even fucking define that shit. It's so abstract. You know what I mean? That's where you get like Moses talking about like a burning bush that's not burning, but like, and he sees, and people in the Bible talking about like beings with faces that's facing me, but is also facing 10 different directions. It's like so fucking abstract. If you've done psychedelics, like telling people that don't do psychedelics, you sound fucking crazy. But if you talk about your trip with someone else who's done it, they kind of get it because it's very abstract the way you're kind of talking about things.
Well, they talk about Moses in that burning bush, it being whatever kind of fucking tree that is out there that is like
Acacia.
super rich.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in DMT, and that maybe he found a way to like do that that immuno whatever you have to fucking do so that like your body can actually absorb that DMT. Like you need a MONI or whatever inhibitor to fucking like block your body from like breaking it down instantly. And so like I mean that's like how wild what's that shit in the jungle, Thomas? Ayahuasca, right? Where they say the spirits told them
The
how to
mimosa
do
bark.
it. Yeah, and so they say like literally their gods, their spirits told them how to do it. It's like it's a really complicated fucking thing. But I'm not saying that they didn't know how to do that in the time of, like in fucking ancient Egypt and in the time of fucking whatever when Moses did it. They might have had a way. Like he might have been smoking fucking DMT. He might have been getting high as fuck and
My thing is,
actually hearing the word of God.
spiritual journey is an ongoing thing where your reality and your beliefs are constantly going to be shattered because you're trying to capture something so abstract that's constantly changing that you can't even verbalize. But religion is almost like pinning it down into law and saying that if you don't follow these rules, then you're going to go to a certain place that's bad. You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's you're kind of putting God in a box by subscribing to, you know what I mean, like passionately to a religion, you know what I mean, opposed to like sort of just practicing like an outline of your life type of thing, you know what I mean?
Well, that's exoteric religion though, because once you start getting more esoteric or like theologians and stuff, or even just like general occultism, I think it becomes less of a rule book and more of like a map,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's more like,
It's for
hey,
the
if you're going down
initiated
this
kind of
path,
shit.
here's what other people have found and what they think lies down this path. But if you want to go down that way, like here's these people. But I like we're talking about dogma when we start talking about like the religious law and stuff, but that doesn't
Right.
necessarily like religion is just every morning you wake up, you go and you take a grumpy shit and then you grab some OJ or something. Like if you develop a very specific routine to where like your life works better having that routine than not having that routine, it's kind of just add a little bit of spiritualism to it and now you've got a religion. But like when we talk about organized religion and dogmas in the organized religion, it's also tapping back into that concept of I don't want to be kicked out of my community because
Yeah.
there's this like Neanderthal genetic part of my brain that's like you're gonna die and starve and never have any progeny if you get kicked out of this certain situation. And like the religions, I feel like they knew about that. Like someone knew that deep down in the monkey brain or whatever the hell you want to call it, like there's this thing that knows that if you get ostracized, like there's this primal part of you that'll do anything it can to not be excluded from the group. And it's not just because of narcissism, it's cause like legitimately great grandma and grandpa would have died if they didn't like somehow get back into good graces. And it's like this
Right.
annoying gene that's in all of us, but that some people know how to extort it really well.
Yep.
Well, I think that's I mean, yeah, dude. I mean, I think that's collectivism, or you could even say government in general,
Tribalism
like
type shit.
tribalism. Yeah, that like the worst possible thing to do would be to be ostracized from the group, right? I mean, and that's in nature too. When they fucking like a group of fucking monkeys, they decide to fucking ostracize this monkey. He's dead.
Well, that's one of my biggest sort of criticisms of like the what do you call it, the agregore culture, or what do you call it?
The anarchist, or what are you talking about?
Yeah. There's like a certain name for it though, where everybody like just trades with each other within a small
That's
community.
agorism.
Agorism, yeah. And everyone like always like, oh, that's that's the way that we can get out of here. But it's just like, what if you just happen to live in a place where you're not friends with any of your neighbors and they decide to blacklist you? Like that sucks. But right now, I can be the biggest asshole in a 5-mile radius, and I can still get Amazon to deliver anything I want to keep me alive indefinitely, right?
Well, with agorism, buddy, like that's the whole thing though too, is that there's markets within markets within markets. Like there's always going to be assholes, and even if you're like, that's the other thing too, is that there's freedom for you to fucking go wherever the fuck you want. First of all, you can find your tribe of pricks. Or
yeah, that's very inconvenient though. That's very, very inconvenient to just having to like move somewhere, find out you're the asshole, move somewhere again, find out you're still the asshole. You know what I mean? Like how much time and resources do you have to find a place until you find other people that are like your equal level of asshole?
I don't know, dude, but there's always people.
Metaverse.
Yeah.
616.
Yeah.
There's always people that want your money, Thomas, and that want your money more than they want their goods. So I think, dude, that's the whole thing about agorism, is that it's all black market. So even if there was like fucking like the group said like, we're not trading with you, that's not agorism at all, because there is no rules in agorism. It's all black markets. There's somebody else to be like, oh yeah, they said that, but I want your fucking money, and here's my goddamn product. That's what it is. There is no fucking rules to agorism. And that's the fucked up part, because like literally, dude, like I basically consider myself like a right-wing fucking psychopath agorist. But like which most agorists are left-wing, but that's why I'm a fucking weirdo. But like agorists, dude, like if you start getting in with their communities, which I have, I was like kind of like, if anyways, whatever, I won't talk about that. But like there's like agorist communities out here. You're gonna find people that are like there's people that want to do homeschooling and that want to trade raw milk and that want to like fucking like sell like meat under the table, eggs, whatever. But then there's also people that want to like fucking sell like heroin and want to fucking sell hand grenades and want to sell like, there's like, dude, these guys, like, you're gonna find the oddest people, the weirdest fucking people that just want no fucking rules, that will, oh, do you want a fucking like a dead person, a dead black woman's pussy? Oh, well, it's gonna cost you this much. I'll get that for you. Like there's like, because it's that black market.
There's a demand,
that black market. Yeah, they're just like, all right, you want that? I'll get that for you. Like everything has a price attached. Like there's some weird motherfuckers in like these groups, dude. Like in these like communities, and like,
believe it or not, you're selling me more on this as you go now.
Shit,
dude, it's wild. Like there's literally, you can find anything that you're looking for.
Damn.
Like
I want like hot pockets with heroin in them, and they're just like, all right,
yeah. Thomas, you're in Florida right now. I know agorists in Florida right now. I could hook you up. You could have a heroin hot pocket tonight.
Damn. Speaking of meeting your tribe, and it's easier now online. Obviously, you're from Portland. You're from Florida. How'd you guys meet, and how'd you guys kind of get into your guys' collective? Because you guys kind of have a lot of people in your circle as well. How did that all come about?
I think I just came on as a guest one time when we clicked, and I filled in because someone couldn't make it one night, and the rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
Okay. Hell yeah.
I mean, I didn't even come out of my cave before I started coming on with Nate here. So
oh yeah,
I don't know any. Dude, Nate will have me on and be like, "This is this guy that's like, he's got all these awards and he's been a huge thing." Like, I don't know anyone from anybody. I mean, I truly live in a cave and in a bubble. So
yeah,
I don't feel bad about it, but it's just and it's kind of cool, right? Because I always feel like I'm the person at the movies that hasn't seen any of the previews, and it's like, what? This is a zombie movie, and everyone else is like, yeah, that's why I'm here, right? But I don't know. It's kind of interesting to do it that way.
Yeah, it's cool. Bro, when I first saw, was it Dark Knight, the first movie with Christian Bale? I didn't know it was a Batman movie. So
Yeah, man,
I was
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
fuck?
Yeah. It's so much better when you go into something blind and then it's like something you won't
Right.
expect.
I do feel bad messing up people's names though, because when we started the podcast, I wouldn't look people up, bro. And it, I wanted to come with the raw energy of being organic. Hey, let's get to know each other. You know what I mean? Not fabricated. And yeah, sometimes I listen to my old shit. I'm like, damn, I should have fucking researched his name at least. But that's
Dude,
cool. How
I
long?
go in so fucking raw on a lot of these, like so fucking raw, and I will mispronounce their name like twice in the intro. Like that's been a thing, and you just have to fucking keep going.
Sometimes, like for you, Nate, I think like once you mispronounce someone's name the first time, even if you hear it right after that, the fact
You
you've
still
already
keep doing
said
it.
it, like that's the only way you're ever gonna say it forever.
Hey man, that's word magic that makes the person feel a certain way. You know what I mean?
Well, I wanted to point out
makes you respect it a little bit. You know what I mean?
and the word aum, I think, like AUM, like the one that people use to kind of go into trances. I think that's one of the best
That one.
examples. Because that one describes, this is like some Manly Palmer Hall stuff, but like it describes the breath coming out of the back of your throat, which is the ah, like that. Like if when you say ah, you can feel that it's the back of your throat vibrating to make that noise, and then the you can feel it to like the top of the back of your throat, so it's like the air coming up over your throat, and then the you can only make by closing your lips together. So it's like it actually starts from this raw, potential energy in the back of the throat. Then you use like human intellect and skill to focus it into one spot in the throat, and then you focus it into the M. And doing that over and over, it really does put you into a trance. So that's a very like, it doesn't matter what language or culture or anything, that noise making over and over can put you in the same trance universally.
Dude,
just do it right now. If you say and you hold that, because I used to practice like a lot of like breath work and like meditation stuff. I went down a rabbit hole in that. If you hold for like 10 seconds, you feel a vibration in your head. You know what I mean? So,
and I don't know if you ever done this too, but like when you're holding that M and you get that vibration, if you just like get your teeth like just close enough, you can like feel them. Like, yeah, but like just like doing those weird things. That's exactly what making that noise is all about. It's about focusing and being like, not to sound all like woo woo, but like present in the moment, but truly like your focus is on like the vibrations that your just body is making by itself.
So what if
really
you're dating a
nothing like
hippie
that.
girl? If she's doing
Here we go.
she's blowing you. Like, do you come
oh,
harder?
dude, I need to write that one down.
Like, you're like, oh,
to release your demons.
but at least,
but don't quote me. I heard that's where men came from. You know what I mean? Like,
okay,
amen.
I heard
because it's got
amen
that
was
spiritual.
like Amen Hotep. This was like a prayer to a fucking an old pharaoh. Like, now, speaking of this reminds me, because I heard a pastor that was talking about this, saying that like the secret name, the true name of God, that is not supposed to be, well, it is spoken, but it's not really supposed to be talked about, is like Yahweh, right? And he was saying that like he's saying that because God is the way, the truth, and life, the secret name of God is like, it's the first word you say and it's the last word you say, because it's your breath. It's like, and talking about like you're breathing in Yahweh, and like that is like, so it was like this esoteric meaning of like life and breathing, and like the spirit of God being inside of you. What, like, life is God, God is love, God is life, God is like that spark. Like, that's some wild weirdo shit. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. Yeah, well, a lot of the meditations, there's a mantra that you say, and just saying Yahweh, like the way you said it, you know what I mean, slows down your breathing in a sense. So if you slow down your breathing, you know what I mean, like that will have the chain reaction of making you somewhat calmer, kind of like the relaxing being therapeutic for you. But I heard Yahweh was a fucking dragon, right?
I've heard he was a dragon. I've heard he was also a dust devil. Like, he's a fucking, like, he's supposed to be
like
a
the
fucking
vacuum.
Yeah, he was supposed to be like
bro.
a fucking a wind spirit from like the Middle East as well. I've also heard that dude, this is what pissed a lot of people off because I had gone down this like research rabbit hole that like Yahweh was also he was also Saturn, he was also Kronos, and like this guy just flipped out and got really upset and called me a Gnostic goober. But
that's not even really Gnosticism.
I know, but he didn't like it. He didn't like it.
Interesting. How do you deal with this? Going down rabbit holes and being a Jesus follower, Christ follower.
Yeah. How do I go down? Like,
because I mean, a lot of these things
about,
could be potentially blasphemous, right?
Sure. And like, dude, I've had to deal with that. Like I was raised Christian as fuck. And then I went through a period of time that I was the biggest fucking atheist and like had rejected God completely. And then I found my Godhead. I found Jesus inside of me and I came back to Christ actually by doing a bunch of mushrooms, dude. By doing a bunch of fucking drugs. It brought me back to being a kinder, nicer, more empathic, just a better person. And I was like a fucking douchebag that I would crack 2 Four Locos. I would take a bag of shrooms, about an eighth of shrooms, and then I would finish 2 fucking things of Four Loco. Then I would hop on the train. And this is how I would start my night. This is how I'd start my night in downtown Portland. And then we'd go to like bar hopping and we'd go to like karaoke. We went to this place called the TARDIS Room. It was like a fucking Doctor Who themed bar. I'd be like frying my brains out on shrooms. And I'd get up there and do I'd sing Katy Perry, Teenage Dream up there and do like fucking
dope
karaoke
song
all night. And so then, yeah, great song, dude. Or a Call Me Maybe. That was my White Girl Wasted summer fucking song. And so and then we get out of the bars and like that train would be closed from like 2 a.m. to like 5 a.m. So you'd have this 3-hour period where like the bars are closed and there's nothing to do. So we'd like go to like a 24-hour coffee shop, get some coffee or something and like walk around and you just interact with like homeless people that are up and stuff. And so I just started like instead of just walking over a homeless person, because like that's what you do in Portland, dude. It's fuck. I don't know where you're at, but there's a shit ton of hobos, out
in
here.
SoCal. I feel you.
Well, then you know about the hobos, dude, because there's a ton of hobos out there. And so like you'd literally be like stepping over like hobos with needles in their arms. You know what I mean? And you're like, excuse me, pardon me, like as I'm going to the coffee shop. And then I would just kind of like look down at these people and I would see like God inside of them. I would see like the Godhead inside of them. Like they are connected to me. They're alive. God loves them just as much as he loves me. And so I would just I'd get down there and be like, hey man, my name's Nathan. And I'd start having a conversation with him. And I'd be like, do you want a hug? Can I pray for you? And like, in the meantime, I'm supposed to be an atheist. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like asking to pray for people. And they're like, tell me what's going on in your life. And we would just have these conversations and like, they'd tell me like their fucking life story. I'd pray for them and I'd like grab them coffee. I'd say, God loves you and give them a big hug. And then I'd be like, later on, I'd be like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? And like, I just like started becoming a different fucking person, dude. Like, and then it opened me up to the possibility of actual like a relationship with God and him being real and there being a Jesus and this, this whole thing. My mom invited me to church and like I met the pastor and like I listened to his sermon and I was waiting for him to piss me off because I was like a hardcore like anti-war anarchist at the time and like and nothing he said pissed me off. And then we sat there and had this conversation and he turned out to be like a libertarian anarchist too. And we had this like wild conversation about, all this, that, and the other, and about Jesus. And so I just stayed and I just and then I fell in love with Jesus again. And then I met my wife and like my whole life turned around and changed when I like accepted Christ back into my life and I changed like the person that I am. So to me, it's been nothing but positive and fantastic, dude. Like I won't turn back. Like, but I guess your original question was like, how can I go down these weird fucking rabbit holes and ask these questions that could be like, heretical and things. I'm looking for the truth, and I don't necessarily think that the Bible is 100% word for word exactly God's words, because I think that there was human interaction, right? Humans
Mhm.
have written these things, and you can find differences between every single version of the Bible. Like they try to do it this way, they try to do it this way. Like, you know what I mean? There's so many different like versions of the Bible that if I read it this way, like I really like I read the New Living Translation, the NLT
Okay.
version of the Bible. That's the one that I like a lot. A lot of people only want to read the King James or the New Living Translation, or what's the other one?
NASB is the new one, right?
NIV, the New International Version, or whatever. Like, and dude, the passages are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, but like they are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so to me, like, I think that this sounds like this is when Christians will say you're not a Christian, or I'll say like when all of these different religions even were talking about the same fucking thing and had the same like historical events that happened and told like these very similar stories. Like, I think that there is one creator, there's one God, and we are all worshiping him. And I can't tell them that I'm 100% correct. Why do I think the church that I go to, the church that I go to in Vancouver, Washington, you guys can come with me if you want and hear me preach tomorrow, because I'm going to preach a sermon tomorrow at church in Vancouver, Washington.
Hell yeah.
Why does my church have like the monopoly on the truth? Why is that one? And if you don't agree with the things that we say, then you're going to hell, because was when it says God is love. What he really means is if you're wrong, if you got it this much wrong, you're almost there, but you got this much wrong, you're going to hell. Lake of fire for you. Like, I can't tell people that they're fucking right or wrong. So I can if they have a question, I can tell them what I think. You know what I mean? And I can try to show them like love through a relationship that I have with them, and I'd be like, hey, and this is God through me, you know, that sort of thing. I can try to be a good example, which I'm not really, because I say all kinds of wild shit on here, but like, I love people, dude. Like, as wild as I am, I still fucking love people. I'm kind. I have nothing but great relationships with humans. Like, we have a fucking great time. People love me and I love them. And to me, that is Christ in me. That is my testimony, is just me treating people with respect when I can't. I mean, sometimes I'm a jerk.
Are you gonna start speaking in tongues?
I could.
Let's pray, guys. Let's just pray. Let's pray. That was powerful. Damn, Thomas, stop it. You don't know what you're doing, bro. No, I love that, bro, because I grew up Christian too, and I would still consider myself, like I say, follower of Christ. You know what I mean? Trying to be Christ-like. I would say that Jesus at the time was also fucking canceled. You know what I mean? Jesus would talk about provocative shit that would make the intellectuals be like, what? This fucking 12-year-old talking about, like, you know what I mean? So what you're doing is more Christ-like than what they're doing. You feel me? So don't get fooled, brother. Don't get fooled.
The political establishment right now was the Pharisees, dude.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what Jesus was like fighting against at the time, was the establishment, the religious like leaders at the time, the political leaders at the time, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. Like, he was like basically going to war with them. Yeah. And he was saying like he was a radical, dude. Jesus was a radical in his time, and that's why they killed him.
So, talking about Jesus now, I want to kind of ask Thomas this, bro. For someone to collect communion to try to do some experiment.
Did you mash them all together?
I know you've done some shit, bro. You have all these fucking manuscripts and shit. Have you had any personal experiences that are like kind of, you know what I mean?
No paranormal, no alien, no cryptid,
not even like
really.
Borderline, like something in the background fell when I said this shit, like, and nothing like that.
When I was like 6, I lost my stuffed Gizmo doll, and my parents swear that they didn't hide it from me or anything, and it never showed up. And I always thought that maybe a ghost stole it, but that's it, bro. Like, outside of that, everything else is just psychedelic experience.
Okay, that's so. Man, I tell people, well, do you believe in a God?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. So that's what I tell people. I feel like if you're atheist,
If
just
you
do
don't, if you say
psychedelic.
that you don't, Thomas, will they kick you out of the lodge? Like you
Oh,
have to.
that's a good question. Honestly, I mean, if
Oh, shit,
that's
yeah,
the
that's
line,
interesting.
I don't think in practical terms. But if you went up into a lodge and you're like, I want to join right now, but I don't believe in God, no, they
Yeah.
turn you away. I think, at least in America. I think in
Yeah.
England, you can be a fucking atheist and still it's
You
weird.
can be a woman and become a Mason.
Yeah, it's fake over there now. It's fake
Dude,
masonry.
where you're at in the deep south in Florida, if you're black, you better go to the fucking other one because you're
The
not
Prince
getting
Hall,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, you better go to that Prince Hall because you're not getting in here.
That's
What are
still
you
real,
doing here,
unfortunately.
boy?
It's not quite that specific. I mean, that's like North Florida, which is South Georgia. Yeah.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah, I want to, bro. I've like wanted to see Bigfoot or have an alien experience or some supernatural experience, and like I was in jail for a little while too, and like the only book they let you read for the first while you're in there until you earn more privileges is the Bible. So I read the Bible like 6 or 7 times front and back. Like at one point I was like memorizing Proverbs, not because I was like all in. It was like the only book that I had to keep me sane. So I was reading the whole
Yeah.
thing. Numbers sucks, by the way. I hate the numbers part. But like the Bible, like I figured if I just read this thing enough times and I just sit and I pray and I do all the things, like at some point something's gonna click, and nothing, man. Like not at all. I'd rather just read a comic book now.
Oh, I was gonna say I thought that was real, but it was from A Clockwork Orange, right? Where he's sitting there in prison and he's reading the Bible, and they
Yeah, but
think
he's Pontius Pilate in his head.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I didn't go that route. No, honestly I love Proverbs. That was so cool because it just felt like just dropping nonstop sick quotes, back to back to back.
Just
Proverbs
tattoos
is
and
legit,
tweets.
dude. Like, I mean, even for atheists, I think that Proverbs is legit as fuck, dude.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's what's up. What kind of psychedelics have you guys done? If you don't mind me asking.
Dude. A lot of fucking mushrooms, dude. That's the majority of what I've done. I haven't. I think I've maybe done acid. I don't even know if I've done acid.
I feel you, bro. I took a light dose and I'm like, do I even count that? But I was fucking tripping out.
Yeah.
So I guess I was fucking it counts.
And I tried to do fucking ecstasy a bunch of times, but almost like when I was a kid, dude, like every time you try to buy ecstasy, it was either heroin or meth or like fake.
Damn.
So like I don't know if I've ever even had like real good like MDMA or anything like that. We used to call it fizz back in the day because I was from fucking northern California.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I'm trying to do.
I thought that was the whole point of growing up on the West Coast was that like you always had the good supply.
Weed, yes, but like ecstasy was. I mean, maybe as an adult, like, and you could actually like hold like a somebody accountable or something. But like we were like 12 and 14 and shit.
They were, dude, in Florida in the 90s, they were practically just giving MDMA away to anyone that wanted it. Like you could go to Miami and they would sell them in these big, those old tubs of like a gallon of ice cream you get and it has a big handle. They would just fill those tubs up and it would be like $1,000 for a tub full and it would be over 1,000 pills. And it would just be like Rolls Royces and Blue Dolphins and freaking, Supermans and whatever the hell you wanted in there. But I mean, it was legit. And
they were all kinds of wild fucking names with wild symbols.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Thomas.
No,
I'm having a lag thing. I didn't know I was interrupting you. Sorry, buddy.
I'd say like my I don't want to get into what someone that's not me has done out there, but I'm a huge advocate of salvia. And I don't know many other people that advocate for it or that even enjoyed it. And I think it's like one of the most important drugs on the planet.
I feel like what you went through, Nate, through religion.
It's hard to find nowadays, right?
It's legal in a lot of states still. Nevada, it's still legal.
I feel like
legal.
What you went through, Nate, was more of like a spiritual awakening, ego death. You know what I mean? And I feel like you get that with psychedelics, especially taking like a high dose to where it's like you can't kind of control the reality anymore. You kind of give in. I've never done salvia, but that seems like there's no control. Like there's like some people have told me there's a force that just fucking pushes you back and you're just in for the ride. And salvia is available, right? And just like the smoke shops and shit. So
In some states, yeah, in Florida and a lot of other states, it's illegal. It's like, it's a big deal. But I'm positive, at least in Nevada, it's 100% legal. You can just get it anywhere. You can go to a head shop. But I'm an advocate for it. I think it's fucking awesome. I wish it was more freely available. I wish that there was like extra. I wish there was like a dab market for salvia where you could just do a dab of pure salvia and people would like actually be accepting of it and not just be assholes on YouTube falling out of windows.
Oh yeah, it's fucking tripping videos.
That was what ruined it, man. It was idiots jumping out of windows and then some freaking depressed teenager like suffocated himself in a tent in his garage after he smoked salvia, and he wrote some letter. It's like, I smoked salvia and now I know my life's a lie, and so now I'm gonna die. And that was like
that was a fucking fed dude. That was a crisis actor.
It was an inside job.
Not kidding,
yeah,
dude.
Wild. That's wild.
But and I think it's important because it's non-euphoric, right? So I mean, some people describe like laughing or feeling like strange on it, but it's very few people are like, as soon as they come down, they're like, I want to do that again. You know what I mean? It's like could be a horrible or an exhausting experience, or just something that you don't want to keep doing over and over and over again. And for that reason, it's almost like non-habitual. It almost feels impossible to ever get addicted to salvia. I don't know how anyone really could. So, I mean, and it scares people away, right? It's like, if you're not this tall, you can't ride. And I feel like salvia's got that rule built into it.
Yeah, man.
Salvia teleport was violent, ripping you out. So I've heard the best. I don't think this is the answer, but I've heard salvia when you said it pushes you up against the wall, or
right.
I remember if it almost feels like you just become one with like the chair, whatever the hell you're connected to, and that's because your mind is starting to go through different dimensions. So you're in the third dimension right now, right, or whatever, third or fourth. But you do salvia, and it's almost like you start getting pushed into the second dimension, and that's why it feels like you're spreading out. You're getting like sucked in or swirled into something, is because like you're ceasing to kind of perceive the third dimension the same way that you previously were. And the only way your mind can sort of make sense of like this new two-dimensional environment is to just be like, oh, I'm an infinite plane now. You know what I mean? Because I can't be a three-dimensional object. I can't have mass and volume. So I just have to spread out for infinity. And it feels exactly like that.
Dude, I've heard
going to cartoon world and shit.
Stories with people on salvia that have described things like they became an inanimate object and lived an entire lifetime as an inanimate object. And so like they lived their life, like the specific story that I remember at least was this woman became like a closet doorknob. And so like the only time she felt human warmth, and she like lived like in this house like for 50 years, dude. And the only time she felt warmth was when somebody would grasp their hand across her briefly to like, and then she said she felt every moment. Yeah. She felt every fucking moment of like, oh, there's no one touching this closet door right now. Nobody is home. Everybody's at work right now. And like
the brave little toaster.
Like every minutia of like, oh, a piece of dust just landed on me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and like just felt an entire lifetime of the mundane, like the painstaking, boring, like horrible being a fucking closet doorknob. That shit's fucking nuts, dude.
Well, Jaridu was saying earlier that trying to explain that to somebody that hasn't felt it before just makes you sound crazy. And that it does, like what you just said sounds legitimately crazy, but I too, like I know
I get you, bro.
To be like, I know what it's like to be a box of cereal in outer space, and I know how stupid and silly that sounds, but it is a distinct feeling that I have a very real, like anecdotal experience with being that exact thing. So I don't know, man. It's hard to describe it to someone.
Yeah, I mean, like when you said that, that was both sad and like beautiful at the same time. You know what I'm saying? That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah. Dude, can you imagine though? Like you're just kind of a
Fuck.
sad, pathetic weirdo that just like jerks off. So like you're the doorknob and you're just watching this like incel like watch violent rape porn and he just masturbates all day and you're just sitting
Why
there
is
just
this the
watching
first
them,
place you go to?
or it's like because I knew this girl. I knew a fucking girl in high school and she was fucking cute and I don't know why she always would let her dog eat her pussy. Like that was just a thing, and she fucking and we knew about it. And she told us, and she would put peanut butter between her snatch and just let her dog. Like maybe this was like self help. This was like her like she was trying to like fix her mental health.
It was down to the ice pick.
Aren't finger blasted anymore. So like she was like, "Come here, Rover." You know, like
we're more civilized than that now in modern society.
That's that new doggy style.
Go get me the gist.
I always was curious, dude, and I never asked. I want to know if it was creamy or chunky. You know what I mean? Like if it was like crunchy or creamy.
Is that like ribbed or non? Like ribbed for your pleasure? Yeah. Should we get the extra chunky?
Better to get those like big chunks in there. And he's like, it gets in there. Like, but anyways, but imagine you're the doorknob and you're just like, I fucking hate this so much more now. Like, I think I'd rather have like dust land on me than just like. But maybe not. Maybe it keeps things interesting.
That's what I wanted to say because, like you said, Thomas, doing salvia is fucking intimidating. You know what I mean? That's how I feel about DMT because it's like super intense. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't think of that. No, dude, DMT used to be called the businessman's high because you could take a 30-minute lunch break. This is like a 70s term, I think.
Bro, when I'm taking that third hit, when my fucking hand is dissolving, that shit scares me, bro.
Yeah, but it's over in what 20 minutes and you're back to normal, right?
That's what I tell myself to go into it. You know what I mean? So my why at the time was like I had some trauma that I was going through, so I wanted to like seek guidance in the DMT world. So I would set a timer, bro, and I would tell myself, like, once I hear that timer, I should be sobering up.
Like flatliners.
But bro, it's like the Superman ride from fucking Six Flags, if you know what I'm talking about. That shit shoots up. But once you're past there and you're in another realm, that's when you kind of receive information. But I got a lot of insight from my first 2 trips, but then like I kind of abused it, right? And in my 4th, 5th trip, it was almost like the entities were like, what the fuck are you doing here, bro? There's like nothing left to conquer, you know what I mean? Or nothing left we have to tell you, like come back when you're going through something or like get out. You know what I mean?
It was getting awkward. You're like,
and so I would go to the DMT or subreddit on Reddit. Shout out to that subreddit because I feel like they're one of the few friendlier subreddits on Reddit. Reddit's fucking toxic wasteland. But it's funny because these psychedelic experience, what makes them a little more credible is that sometimes they're shared experiences, right? Like you said, the fucking doorknob shit, we understood it somehow. You know what I mean? You go on subreddit and you share your trip, someone will be like, bro, that's the same thing happened with me. You know what I mean? So I feel like if you have a why and you go into it, then a certain dimension psychedelic being has a wide, you know what I mean? You almost sound like a signal and it's received by that opposite signal and you guys kind of make contact or communicate, right? So which brings me to my point. Do you guys think DMT or like the psychedelic realm is kind of where you go in the afterlife? What do you guys think happens in the afterlife? Is this like a spirit world or is this just like a, present day realm that's overlaid and when we die, this doesn't even make sense because that's technically the world still, you know what I mean?
It's fascinating, man. I like that question because, I mean, theoretically, at least scientists that I don't believe anymore will tell you that when you die, a bunch of dopamine and and basically DMT drops in your brain. It's like a massive, just fucking boom. Mm-hmm. And so is that like taking you to that spirit realm? You're finally free from your body and you're able to just go. I don't know, dude. I like that idea. I think it is fucking fascinating. I'm very open to that idea. And so maybe like all these like drugs are kind of left here as like little Easter eggs for us to like try and like we can find them and use them and kind of like connect with. Because I mean, I do think that we are like disembodied, like eternal spirits stuck in meat suits. And again, this is when people are going to start calling me a Gnostic, Goober libertarian. But I think it's true. And I'm a weirdo Christian that believes in reincarnation. I think that we kind of like get reincarnated and we just kind of we learn and then we come back. And I don't know, man. It's fucking fascinating. But I'm definitely open to that idea that like there's like, if you listen to someone like Alex Jones, he's described this as well, where he says like, man, he goes like the people that are on the real forefront, like studying consciousness and like studying like what we're at right now, because there's groups of these guys that basically like kill themselves for like very small amounts of times, and then they get pulled back and they explore these realms, like, and they talk to these beings. And like, dude, that to me is wild. Like, so they're like, fuck DMT. Like DMT like gets you almost there, but it's kind of like the demo version. You know what I mean? They're like, you can only play like so far, and then you get shot back here. They're like, no, you have to kill yourself. Then you're gonna fucking like. I'm not advocating anybody do that. Don't do this. It's a terrible idea. No one listening right now. But supposedly, that's what these folks do. If they really want to have like some deep conversations with like the creator or whatever the fuck is outside of our reality now, they temporarily kill themselves and come back. That's fucking interesting, dude. I don't know.
What's pretty crazy to think about is, let's say there's two ways to get that trip, right? There's one where you smoke DMT out of a crack pipe. And two, you suffocate yourself, you get to near death and you come back, right? Both experiences is an experience from a higher being, right? And you get a message that's super deep that only certain people who have had those experiences can understand, right? It's almost like an initiated type of thing. Now, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about type of thing. But one is considered holy because you had a near-death experience. The other is considered just a trip because you smoked out of a crack pipe. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy how.
Well, I'll take it even farther, because I believe that there's no difference between going to Peru and fasting for 2 days and going with the shamans out in the or having your buddy order some mimosa bark off of, the dark web and converting it with pool chemicals in the basement. You know what I mean? Like, I personally think that there's really no major difference between those two. Same with like THC. Like, there's the THC distillate, and other people are like, oh, you got to have the entourage effect with all the different, terpenes. And I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure the THC is the one that's like the active ingredient versus everything else. Like, yeah, like it all adds a little bit of nuance here and there. Right. But like, there's the active ingredient, and then there's all the other shit.
So before I tell you guys what I think happens when we die, what do you think happens like in the afterlife, Thomas? You think there's an afterlife?
Yeah, I do. I think the one that I like the most right now, which I don't know if it's right, I just like the most entertaining, is this Rosicrucian idea where like before you're on this earth, you're like a ball of energy. You're just in pure ecstasy constantly, right? Like there's no such thing as a drug because you're just always feeling all things all the time. And then as you get closer to the planet, like you start getting more dense, and like matter and just like particles start attaching themselves to you. And it was described the best way is, imagine like your hand being naked, and as it gets closer and closer to the earth, you just keep putting on gloves over and over. And by the time it gets down to the ground, you've got like 200 gloves on. So you can kind of feel a little bit. And that's kind of like a DMT trip, right? That's almost like something pushing on like that 200th glove. And you're like, I think I feel something pressing from the outside. I'm not sure what it is. But then when you die, it's like taking all those gloves back off. So then you get like Nate was saying, like you're no longer in demo mode. You're now in like the unbridled, unfiltered PS5 mode versus the weird Pong mode that you were in earlier than that. But I think I'm even weirder than Nate, where I don't even think that reincarnation is necessarily real. I think we're all living at this moment, right? But you might be like I'll just make it easy, like one frequency or 1 millisecond off from me, and Nate's 1 millisecond off from me and you, and it's like we're all this big ball of energy that's just like rapidly, like we're each passing it around. Like, what's that thing where whoever's holding the stick is the one that gets to talk, right? When you're at like the bonfire. But just imagine we're all passing this stick to every single person and maybe planet or you know, animal and plant on the whole planet, and we're just passing the stick around so fast that no one notices that like everyone stops while the next person holds it. And that's oversimplification, but then it's like we're all one in a very real way. Like when I'm talking, I'm just like Nate's hearing me say something, but it's really me hearing me say it just from his, you know, vantage point. So
well, I've seen this
fucking
meme
crazy.
that I appreciated, right? Where it's the Garden of Eden, and there's the tree of life, and there's Adam and Eve, and you see God behind the tree, where he's the snake, and he's the apple, and then he also is over here, he's Adam and he's Eve, and he's also the tree, and he's also like this whole fucking, like, and it's like that is kind of what I think is going on.
it's
Like,
just God up there doing this.
Speed of light.
I mean, that is what it is. Even the peanut butter, even the dog, even Sophia. Yeah, I said her name. Get mad at me if you want, Sophia.
How dare you?
But I mean that is God eating his own pussy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if it is what it is, like
I am all things.
I just lost all our Christian audience.
That's fucking crazy,
life is God
bro.
eating its own pussy. I mean, that is kind of that's where we're at right now.
So I know we started the podcast off crazy, and then the middle kind of got, you know what I mean, walls closing in kind of type of vibe, and then we talked about doing your best, you know what I mean? And then so my personal belief of what happens in the afterlife is just like we can pick up signals, I think we can also put out signals and create our own bridge to another portal or whatever. And I think that's why the egregore concept is so fascinating to me, because you can literally make an interdimensional being from this realm, you know what I mean, just by putting like an energy or a fucking like mental talisman out there, you know what I mean, into the realm. And then you put your spirit life, or some people use religion and make, you know what I mean, like a fake religion or a cult to try to make their own egregores, where they go as far as, you know, the people who commit mass suicide for that certain being. Was it the people with the Nike shoes? What was that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Heaven's Gate
Or something.
Yeah.
So I think
it was Reebok, wasn't it? Or was it a Nike?
They were Nikes, buddy. They were Nikes.
Just do it, bro. Look into it. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I think, you know, that's why your mental space is very sacred. And you know what I mean? They say, like I said, this might be blasphemous. We're kind of gods too. God created us in his image. So I feel like whatever you believe, when you die, that personal belief that you have is where you kind of transmute to, you know what I mean? Now, what scares me about these psychedelic trips, you kind of obviously get a DMT flash on your near-death experience. So obviously, whatever your trip is, usually that's where you're going to transmute to. Whatever constant mind or setting you have, it's either heaven, you know, or it's either hell that you're trapped into. And that's kind of like a bad trip or a good trip. And that all the variables that get you there is all fucking, you know what I mean? It's hard to objectify. But I think that also, if you're subscribed to a religion that has a certain egregore, you could kind of get trapped in like a, you know what I mean, like a purgatory type thing, you know what I mean? So that's why you kind of have to guard your soul, you know what I mean, and really be careful where you put out your energy. But my fear is these DMT trips, obviously, and these psychedelic trips, what if it's like a revolver and the trip that I had for me to die was already used because I did DMT. And so there's another one, you know what I mean, loaded up, and I might get a bad trip soon, you know what I'm saying? So I think your personal belief in whatever trip you have, your last trip is kind of where you're going to go. You know what I mean?
You want to hear something kind of fucking interesting, dude? It's something that Alex Jones said too when he was talking about those folks that are like really trying to do these like spiritual communications. He says once they've done it enough times, they can't feel it anymore. Like and so like you can run out of like whatever that is. And I wonder if like that is like
Scary.
actual like purgatory or hell. I don't know. Like what if you run out of those fucking chemicals, dude? What if that's like God gave you a certain amount in your fucking head, and maybe that's why you're not supposed to be using these drugs recreationally? You know, like what if like you're only supposed to fucking I don't know, man. Because what if it
Find out
it cuts off the steps on the ladder?
Yeah, bro.
You know, if you
it's
do it
crazy.
too much, I don't know.
Well, in the ancient mystery schools, you were only allowed to go one time, and that was basically when they gave you the sacred, what was it called, like Kaikian or something? I can't remember the name of it, but it was like this sacred soma / maybe it had LSD, maybe it had who knows what in it, but you only went one time, and it was kind of like seen as not just a faux pas, but you were just not allowed. You almost like signed the guest book, and you weren't ever allowed to come back in, even if you were a king or something. But it was more because like you would show up and they'd say, "What are you doing back here?" Like Jerizi was saying, right? They're like, "You already came, you already cleaned us out. Like, what are you doing?" You know?
Be hell to get stuck in that, bro. Be hell to get stuck in that. Crazy.
Well, where do you guys want to go from here, gents? We're at like 2.5 hours.
It was a marathon already.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, dude. This is a fucking fun one. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to get all the boys on there, and we
want to get some salvia. What?
Yeah.
It's legal in hold on, let me see if it's legal.
I think
in
so,
Oregon.
bro. Well, around the time I was kind of interested in doing it, it was legal. I don't know if they changed it, but raw milk is legal. But they took them off shelves recently over here in our grocery store. So,
oh man, okay, so
fuck that shit.
So California prohibits sales to minors, but you can buy it if you're of age.
Hey.
Thomas, I think we figured out Oregon was legal too. Like,
Yeah, dude. Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona. It looks like it's legal in all those states. And then, oh damn, not even Georgia anymore. Now it looks like South Carolina is the closest I'd have to drive to if I really wanted to stock back up again.
Oh, buddy! I mean, you could go and get some
your boy
barbecue, and then
I might know somebody that's stocked up because they saw this coming from a mile fucking away. And dude, from what I've looked up, Salverin A does not degrade the same way that say like psilocin or other chemicals do. Like a lot of things, especially mushrooms is a good example, that they'll degrade over time. MDMA too. But Salverin A, if you keep it out of heat and light, it might last like indefinitely. So just another reason why it's like one of the most important plants on the planet.
I might have to try it. I know
Dude,
it's not a long lasting one.
It's unpredictable, dude. It's fucking wild.
Like, I mean, it might feel like I'm a doorknob watching a chick get her pussy eaten like by her dog for fucking 40 years, but it only lasts like what, like max like an hour?
Yeah. 40 minutes max, and then
Salvia's
you
an
come
hour
back out of it.
No,
What's that?
I think it's usually like 20 minutes, right?
Shit.
Like,
Yeah, maybe
typically?
even less, but like there's a dude because even after it stops wearing off, now you're like, I was just a cereal box in outer space, and it's a weird place to come back from that mental, because it's so
yeah, bro.
because when you come back, you realize you were like 20 minutes ago, I didn't have a body or a brain or a consciousness or thoughts or an ego or age or any of that. Like I was just a box of cereal, the end, like full stop. And I don't know, man, like it's you come back and you're like, is this real? Like what was that? If that wasn't real,
what did you get from psychedelics? Like you say you're an advocate, like what, like do you feel like you had some benefits from this, or like what's the most experience or like thing that you brought back with you?
nothing of value. Maybe I don't know. No, I didn't get any like secret messages, but like we were talking earlier, like Jerizi was asking, kind of like hinting like spiritual and atheist, and like what do you, and then this is kind of the thing, because when two people, like I've seen people do salvia from all walks of life over 20 years, like call me Johnny Salvia Seed or something, before it was like nationally illegal. But I'd seen people that never heard of it, never had any preconceived notions of it, nothing, have like identical experiences, down to like seeing the same entities and hearing the entities give them the same instructions or warnings, to the point like 2 or 3 times, okay, maybe a coincidence. 5 or 6 times, maybe you read into it. 10, 11, 12. Like, how many times do you see this weird stuff before you're like, okay, now there's maybe something to it. Maybe there's like an underlying reality that people can get hip to for like brief moments in time. So that, and I feel like salvia is one of those where you can't do it at a party and have fun on it. Like, it just doesn't work. And because of that, it's like you have to eat your vegetables, right? Salvia is like the broccoli if you don't like broccoli, or like having to eat the Brussels sprouts, but it's got like the nutrients in it somehow.
That's fucking
Interesting,
hilarious,
man.
It's funny, yeah. When I come back from like DMT land, I look around like I just came back from space, yo. I need to tell people what I just saw. I need a press conference.
But even in DMT, the whole time you're like, I see this and I want to look at this more. Like, you still can have an ego. Yeah. And man, like salvia is just so wild, to where you go from having an ego to having absolutely like complete ego. Like, you don't even feel the death, right? You're just like, bam, you're like, the ego's gone. And then you're like back into reality again in the span of 30 or 40 minutes. There's nothing on the planet like it.
It's like a rapture.
It is like a rapture.
Maybe I heard iboga is pretty.
I've never tried iboga. Yeah.
I heard it's powerful stuff, but I've never tried it either.
I've tried kratom, and I've tried a bunch of other.
That's available pretty.
Yeah, I can get kratom.
Commonly.
Kratom gives me such gastrointestinal issues that it just sucks, dude. I've done a ton of kratom. Like, I had surgery on my wrist, and I didn't want to take like opioids and shit, so I was like hoping that kratom would fucking do it. And so I was like taking a shit ton of kratom.
If you can limit yourself, I mean, opioids are fucking a modern miracle. I mean,
they're
seriously.
wonderful. Thomas, yeah, I like them, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to do them. Yeah, because they're fantastic. So is meth, and that's why I don't do it anymore. It's wonderful. Anyway, kratom just like, dude, like the fucking like cramps and like awful just like gut pain it gives me is like it's not even close to worth it.
I was turned off when I noticed how much you really have to take of it, and people are spending time like packing pills and making like whole amounts of tea and stuff. Yeah.
And dude, it tastes like shit.
Not
like I was making a fucking tea with it, and there's nothing you can do to make it palatable. It's god awful. It's like, it tastes like, to me it tastes like yerba mate a little bit, but like also like dipped in like the most bitter like bile, and it's the worst, dude. Fuck kratom. It makes me feel pretty good though, and I didn't like feel the pain in my wrist and shit. And maybe it's just like that's like a symptom that it does to me. Maybe somebody else would be fucking great with it, but
so there's a place right by you called Herb Stomp that has salvia.
By me?
It's by you. Yep.
Hey.
Well, maybe on my way back from church, I can.
It'd be wild, dude. If in either of your states, because not in Florida, if there's even a hook on Salverin A, which is like getting DMT instead of having to buy, ayahuasca or chewing on bark.
Sovereign air. I'm too lazy to make that shit, man. That's where you come in, Thomas.
Gents, I gotta get going. We gotta go make dinner and do some things. Let's do some plugs. Joe Reezy, what are you plugging, buddy?
Follow me on Twitter or X. I couldn't get Joe Reezy because there's a gamer. So follow me at DJOREEEZY. That's 3 E's. I forget sometimes. And follow us at the Cave. That's the K4V3, or check us out on the website cave.com. Same spelling. Thanks, guys. This was fun. Could have kept going.
Yeah, buddy. No, like this is, we're gonna have to do a part 2, 3, 4.
Keep going.
And then okay. Thomas is doing something, so let me see what we have to promote. I'm gonna promote something for Thomas. We'll probably play that video. Actually, do you want to do a? Okay,
well,
so
here,
Thomas, promote this.
This is the new Adrenochrome party pack. I just posted it like a couple hours ago on the website. There's only going to be 50 total. 10 of them are already gone. So inside of this thing, I'm not going to show you everything that's in here, but it's packed full of all kinds of stuff. But it's got 10 stickers, a keychain, 2 art prints, and a whole bunch of other, you'll have to buy one to find out the rest of it's inside. But if you know anything about Paranoid American drops, it's going to be really dope, and you're going to like everything inside of it. So yeah, and it's got this limited edition Adrenochrome bag. It's freaking dope. Here we go.
I like that design, man.
So that's the big one. And then the comic book we've been doing with Sam, Chaos Twins. That's the commercial you got. It's been exploding, bro. Every time I've been checking it out today, it's been going up like another 500. Let's see if I refresh it here. It's at $8,400. So the next big milestone is going to be at 15. And if we hit 15, there's going to be a huge announcement. So yeah, chaostwins.com. Check it out.
Let's go.
Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. As far as Reality Czars go, hit us up at realityczars@gmail.com if you want to collab, talk shit, do all the fun stuff. Also follow us on Rockfin. I'm gonna try to get better at fucking uploading on Rumble. Because
it sucks, man. Rumble sucks to upload to. It's slow, and you can only do one at a time. And yeah, I've personally reached out to Rumble a few times, and I will write you a better program that'll make this faster, but they don't respond to me, and I'm not fucking around. I will.
Yeah, I'll try to get better on that. So follow us, I guess, on Rumble. Fuck YouTube, even though we're on it right now. And follow us on the Twitter. Join us on our Telegram chat and send us spicy memes. And we love all our audience. And I think we're going to close out with a promo for the fucking Chaos Twins, this awesome new comic, this collab with Thomas and Sam Tripoli. So all our audience, we love you guys. Hang in there. Watch this fucking promo and then go to chaostwins.com or samtripoli.com or paranoidamerican.com and get yourself a fucking copy. Fuck yeah. Cheers, boys.
Peace out.
Dive into a realm where comedy meets cosmic adventure. Chaos Twins, created by comedian Sam Tripoli and comic publisher Paranoid American, will sweep you off your feet. Join 2 girls with the astonishing ability to morph into animals, rally with their cryptid crew, and traverse diverse dimensions. But you don't have to take my word for it. Sign up now at chaostwins.com. In a place as curious as Crown City, adventure awaits at every turn. Meet Anna and Becca, 2 spirited souls navigating a world filled with wonders and weirdness. Alongside their trusted allies, Biggie, Mathilda, and the Chupacabros, they'll stand against aliens, reptilians, and mysteries beyond imagination. Dive into their captivating tales and discover a world where anything is possible. For more information, visit chaostwins.com, samtripoli.com, and paranoidamerican.com.